Check, check. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Under Construction. Give me a second to throw the link in the place, and then I will be right with you all. The AI is already running, just sort of like I said last episode. I said I would start the AI early, just to let it do its thing, just to get to the interesting part. You can see it's been running for 57 minutes. This guy is able to shunt his stuff away, which is nice. Finally, he's capable of doing that. Waza is waiting for track clearance. I don't actually know who that is. Is that someone over here? Waza. Or is that one of the trolleys? It might be one of the trolleys. I don't know who that is. Seriously, where's Waza? Oh, Waza is you, isn't it? Hold on, that's you. Jeff is stuck and waiting to instructions. God damn it! Is that you? Are you Waza? You don't look like a Waza to me. Well, there goes the trolley. It's nice to see the place alive, you know? Waza. Oh no, that's you. God damn it. I thought I looked over here. I didn't realize this was Waza. Anyway, let me set up my window just to get ready for today. We're probably just going to start this video off by just chit-chatting, watching some AI do AI things. Oh, I couldn't help but notice while we were over here that the Atlantic did manage to get on the right end of its train, which means that we can now program that further. Let me grab my to-do list. We are running trains right now. I've sort of mentioned in the past, or I definitely mentioned it last week, that the reason that we hadn't been doing AI tests is because they've gotten too long. Like, if I start one during an episode, I'm losing the whole episode of building time. Like, I just can't do anything else with it. But on the other hand, these guys are going to pull into here, right? Where are you going? What is your next command? Oh, I can't even see what the next command is. Okay, you're going back. They're just very conservative with how far they pull out. Okay. So this is waiting for them to pull in, and then he'll leave. And basically, I just want to see if he's capable of doing the thing that I need him to do. This guy, on the other hand, has got to shuffle back and forth, I think, 3 times? Yeah, I'm sure the stream call is chaotic. I see you guys all playing golf. Average day in the Iron Horseman. Alright, go ahead and pull in there, and as soon as you do, this guy's gonna wake the F up. This guy's doing his thing, that's good. There is going to be a conflict between you and you. Hopefully that resolves itself in a manner that is not like a head-on collision. That would be nice. I did have a couple instances during testing of trains following other trains around. Hello, KDS. What's up? We are doing some AI testing before we start building farm fields as we should be doing. This guy's gonna pull way past the center point of the turntable. Hey, Dragon! Yeah, rip Westy. We don't have to talk about that. We can talk about it on the podcast this weekend. But, yeah, Strasbourg did an oops. I recommend watching Heiss's video if you guys haven't. I won't speculate as to whether or not people are going to get fired. But, you know. It's that one train guy. Are you talking about me or Heiss? I'm only back for this one time. Well, why is that? Now I have to ask. You're heading back into the depths of time zone hell. Not that a lack of time zones would make your situation any better. It doesn't make the sun come up, you know, any you know what I mean. Because they're just going to weld it back together because that's the thing you can do with cast metal. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can, as long as it didn't do any, like, major damage to the tube sheet. It's basically a cosmetic issue. It doesn't, I mean, it will impede the drafting if you were to leave it like that. Not that I'm saying that's ever a thing anyone would do, aside from maybe, like, the Uinta. I am here because of disease. Oh. Oh, I'm so sorry. Don't tell me it's the Rona. Is it the Rona? But yeah, I'm not recommending anyone would just leave it like that, but a steam engine should work fine with it like that, or at least not, maybe not fine. It should work with a giant hole punched in the smoke box. The smoke box is, it just helps you draft, for the most part. We have a tourist railway around here that probably would have left it like that. Is that tourist railway called Gettysburg, by any chance? Or, good thing, see, Strasbourg dodged a bullet there. They literally are, they cannot hire Wasatch Railroad contractors to fix their thing, because Wasatch Railroad contractors is gone. But I can think of nary a more capable place, or it's not the Rona, but for 3 days at horrible neck pain that could be compared to getting shot. I know the friggin' feeling. I know exactly what you friggin'. Oh, my neck. My neck hurts thinking about, my neck hurts reading those words. 89 is too small for excursions, 90 is getting worked on, and 611 is getting reported to 72. 89's fine for excursions. That's why they have 89 and not, like, 4 anymore. Technically, they do have 2 perfectly functional locomotives that could run their long excursion trains. 89 is one of them, and the other one is Thomas. I know they're not going to pull out Thomas just because they're short on engines. They're just going to use the diesel, because the diesel is also perfectly capable. But I would not go as far to say it's like bad for Strasbourg as a whole. They're going to bounce right back from this. 89 is a perfectly capable locomotive. Jeff is stuck and awaiting new instructions. Which Jeff? Oh, probably the other one. This little backwoods line that's used to have a 242. Used to have. What does that mean? They're scrapping BEDT 15? Yeah, I'm sure they are. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. There's no way they're scrapping Thomas. It makes them a ludicrous amount of money. Absolutely no chance in hell. Okay, we're going to see if this guy can put away these cars, and if it can, we're good here, and if we're not, I got to take notes, and then we're good here, and we're going to go do scenery no matter what. I do want to put down goals automation, Valley Line passenger train. Your train needs schedule loop starting at MV. So, now that the Valley Line passenger train is the way it is, I'm gonna have to give it a looping schedule. Maybe we'll do that at the end of the video, but seeing as we're already starting this with AI, I should probably end it with scenery. Like, I should do scenery from here. Alright, so you've coupled, you're gonna wait 5 seconds, then you're gonna pull 8 cars off. Right? I think 8. They go to those 2-car and dinky train sets, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yeah, 8. Cool. So that's good. Pulling 8 cars off of here. It'll push them across the way. This is going to be slightly blocked by that. Oh, look, the ZNS hoppers. Or the ZNS things. Love to see them. Plymouth and the Ma and Pa car. No, this is Lynn's opportunity to dual gauge the whole railroad. They're gonna make it 3-foot, and they're gonna borrow locomotives from the EBT. Actually, they're gonna get 20 back from the CRRM. That's why Heist was so quick to make a video on it, because he got insider info about the situation. Don't quote. I made that up. Nobody take that seriously, please, for the love of God. Alright, you're waiting there. Where is the other guy? Okay, he's pushing forward. That's cool. That's fine. You're just gonna wait for him for a minute. I know it'll take you a second, but Graham is stuck in a waiting room. Is that you? Are you Graham? Graham, is this you? Yeah, that's a Graham. Train is going slower than snail, makes everything so slow. Yeah. Well, it's just hitting the end of its run of turnaround. Teacher was teaching agilities about Tommy was rebuilt from a cooler loco. Yeah. No, that's 100% true. I hope you guys showed the picture of BEDT number 2 that's at Essex, which is a cute engine. I didn't realize that wasn't owned by Essex. That's actually owned by the Friends of the Valley Railroad. So they're not going to be restoring that and running it on the mainline Mango Gobbles anytime soon. No one there really knew how to run a steam locomotive properly, and they almost never did maintenance. Man, that sounds like someone telling the story of Coalbrookdale in 15 years, and I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. Coalbrookdale, they've got lots of stuff, and I really hope they figure out how to use it without blowing it or themselves up. It's Tommy. I mean, what do you want to call it? Tank engine gets good at pinball. Also, I love having 2 trains work in the yard at the same time. We did say bang. Oh yeah, it's the other thing that Steam into History had their derailment as well. As if things could not get any worse. Where is Butler Yard North B? Is that like right here? Oh, that's right there. Okay, I think. Oh wait, no, it's just doing this cheeky reverse move. It's up there. What version of Trainz? This is Trainz 2022. I paid the subscription. Call me crazy, but I like having the little Surveyor 2 features, and I mean, I'm a grown adult with a like a, you know, mortgage and a real job and everything, so I can afford it. Number one, and number two, I spent so long working in versions of Trainz that were years old. God damn it, you people. So I was kind of tired of that, and I was just like, all right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just stay on the newest version going forward. Like, I can afford it now. You know, I didn't upgrade from 6 to 12 forever. I didn't upgrade from 12 to Tane forever. And then I went from Tane, and I was in 19 for like a month, and then I moved up to 2022. It just made sense for me. It makes sense for me in my financial situation and what I want to do in Trainz. Oh, we're here at the same time as the we're here at the same time as the passenger train. Why are you going backwards? Why are you going backwards? Where are you going? Where are you going, buddy? Where are you going? Oh god. Also, the 2 trains coming through at the same time is very cool. You should be able to... This should be... It seems to be good. Oh, right, that's not green because... You want to load the rest of the train? Thanks. He thinks he's found another way around. Oh, wait, slowing down. If this had happened 30 seconds later, it would not be a problem. Now he's going to go forward. Now he's going to do the right thing. Alright. Come on, son, do the right thing. All previous tasks are complete, says one of the Jeffs. Dragon, I know the feeling. It's not fun to be in a situation where, like, you want all sorts of stuff. I can't... I'd love to say that it gets, better, and it does to an extent, but every time you get more money, or like the ability to get more money, you get more responsibilities, and you get more like stuff you gotta do, you know? Um, so while I would say on balance it does get better, I'm spending more money now than I ever have, that's for sure. Oh, I threw this down here for MPS-isms. The more money you have, the more you need to spend. Yeah, that's generally true. I mean, you can live well within your means if you want to, you know? Like I could live out of a van down by the river, but when you have that money, you want to make use of it. Paid $350 for a PC that can't even run the simplest games. Yeah, well, $350 for a PC is not very much money. When I bought this computer, or what was this computer before it was rebuilt time and time again, back 10, 12 years ago now, I paid, I think, $700 for it. And if I remember right, I went halves with my dad, and then I paid him back over the course of several weeks with the money that I was able to save up from like my extremely part-time job. And I mean, I got the luck of the draw. I was lucky. I got a machine that was capable enough for me to do everything I wanted to do for a number of years. But I could just as easily have gotten a dud, have gotten a lemon, you know. Um, and computers are more capable now than ever. I mean, for a $350 machine, there are still probably some things you can do, but even still, that is cheap for a PC. I'll say that much. That is very cheap. Um, that said, that said, if you know what you're looking for and if you know where to look, you can get ludicrously good deals on things like that. Um, you can get incredibly, incredibly good deals on computers and computer parts. You just have to be in the right place at the right time, and sometimes you have to know the right people. I mean, a lot of the parts that went into this I've gotten secondhand. Um, Either that's because there were folks in the Horsemen that were upgrading PCs, which has always been a godsend for me, or like Mason was working at a computer parts store and said, "Hey, I've got this machine that came in. It's fairly cheap, but it'll complement your build." Um, so I ended up driving all the way out to Chicago to get it, but you know, that's ultimately neither here nor there. The You're in the Discord, right? Or did you just like recently join? I can't totally recall. The switches in here are very tight, by the way. Um, these are like Tamaros switches almost. They're not quite as bad, but they're pretty bad. Um, anyway, uh, there should be people in there that can help. Um, And there's me still with the RPI laptop as a daily driver. I mean, that thing was pretty good though. Like they made it so that you could do CAD and the other engineering programs on it. It's not anything to you know it's not anything to sleep on. It sort of is like the sleeper of laptops because isn't it a ThinkPad? Is it a ThinkPad or is it a Dell? Um, Either way, it strikes me as a machine that's very capable. And I'm glad you still have that. I remember those. I had a much less capable laptop when I was at RPI. A Lenovo T430. Yeah, see, the Lenovo's. I mean, some people will rag on them, but in my experience, those things are absolute beasts every hour of every day. Uh, it's anecdotal, sure, but it is. I think they're great machines. All right, so this guy, and I'm gonna probably have to adjust freshman year of college with a few upgrades for middle school. I still have my laptop from freshman year of college and my PC with a few upgrades for middle school. Ah, okay, I didn't see the PC part. Um, Yeah, I mean, this thing is basically from freshman year of high school, but I've just rebuilt the entire interior. Uh, so I know what you mean. Why are you going backwards? Why are you going backwards? Why are you going backwards? Where are you going? Where do you think you're going? Did it have a track mark over here that it drove to, and then now it's backing up? Okay, so I need to not give it that track mark command. I need to just give it this if it's going to get confused like this. I don't know why it thinks it can find another way around, but built like a tank. Have to upgrade the RAM. I mean, at least you can do that. It chugs when I finish a rush hour level. I still have not finished a rush hour level. I got to do that at some point. I've had mixed feelings on the rush hour game mode when it came out. I need to give it another shot. They're 10th grade, only a few years old. See, you say only a few years old, and I'm thinking, man, ninth grade was like, that was over a decade ago for me. That's when I bought this. That's actually a good metric. But yeah, 19. So yeah, well, you're still young. Enjoy it while you can. Oh, by the way, short line. Guess what came in the mail today? I'll be right back. Watch this guy do his thing. Tell me if anything goes wrong. You're gonna love this. New story mode, rush hour. I've still only played the Prey Endless map because you want to max it. Yeah, no, that's. I started doing that. Then I moved on to another map when like major updates came out that dramatically changed the gameplay. Oh, it's in pretty good shape too. It's in pretty good shape. All right, check this. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you had this. I'm gonna frame this. I don't know where I'm gonna put it, but I swear to God, I'm gonna frame this if I get the chance. Um, I know. Uh, I just checked my front door. This like I was gonna go walk to the market, and I just checked my front door, and I was like, "What is this package?" And I looked at the name on it and went, "Oh my God, it's already here! The magazine's already here!" And I was like, "All right, well now I gotta write them down. Now I gotta write it down on." I gotta write you down on the thing. Okay, I have to slide the industry like a car length that way, like 40 feet to the right. Um, Goals operation, auto load. Sorry, intermodal industry. All of intermodal. Slide industry in 40 feet. So hold on, let me explain it because I didn't want it to dominate the camera for too long. But Mew is of course obviously the one to recognize it, the one to recognize it. But so this is a model. When did this issue come out? This came out November 2015. Actually, that's much more recent than I'd expected. So this is a November 2015 issue of Model Railroader. This railroad on the cover is the New England Berkshire and Western. It is was the layout of Rensselaer Polytechnic, where I went and where Mew went for college. So this is on page 46. I want to pull this open and look at it. While this guy does its thing. I'm really happy I got it too. I definitely need to send you your cards. Although I have not been to the post office. I haven't written out the thing yet. The addresses on anything yet. So I need to package yours. I need to package one more that I'm supposed to get. And yeah. That I'm supposed to get paid for, and then I can send them all out. The biggest issue with these is that going forward, a lot of these. Oh, Ice is doing a live listen of his solo album right now. Oh, I'm so jealous. That's cool. Um, where the hell was I? I was saying something about something. Also, I'm gonna get rid of this and just see what happens. Just as a test. Um, Heist did a good portion of the soundtrack for Words Online. He's a fantastic guitarist, among other things. Remove extra track mark. So yeah, this layout got cut up and stored, but it is what it is. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I saw the ping. So here's the 2-page spread of the layout, which took up 3 rooms. You can find this online. You should be able to find this online. Um, at some point I'll read that. I just remember we had that. Bruh. Are you gonna go couple? Is that what you're gonna do? Are you gonna like go couple to these cars? Because you shouldn't. You just uncoupled from them. Now I feel like I'm in run 8. I always have this problem in run 8 where I try to uncouple things and they just decide to run back into one another. Um, yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. The issue with Graham's now waiting for track clearance. You stupid Graham. All right. So I guess we need that track mark. I'm gonna put this back in the sleeve to. What is the track mark? Hold on. It is commercial run around North 1. Drive via track mark. G. OL. Commercial run around North 1. Go. Go, fool. Fly, you fools. I think we've broken him. I think he's broken. Wait. No. I think he's broken. Okay, I can't remove that anyway. Alright, well, we're done here, I guess. I should have checked on everything else, but I'm not. Now I'm annoyed. Uh, I've got many more orders that are going to Canada than previously. Previously, I had one, and it was bought after the fact. By the way, if you missed the ball, if you missed the chance to get Steam Locomotive trading cards, or you don't know what the hell I'm talking about because you're new here, which is fair, yes, you do, Mew. Although if you're putting down a bunch of pictures, I'd just go to Photodump. Um, I have some pictures kicking around, but a lot of the people that have been around a long while will remember my showing off and talking about the Andy BMW. But anyway, sending things to Canada means I have to do customs forms, which takes me longer. Uh, so I really want to get everything, like all the surveys in. If you're hearing this and you have not done your survey, please do your surveys. Um, Also, I'm going to call some people out in a little bit, which I should have done while the AI was running, but I can't do that right now. Now I'm here doing this. Oh, what the hell was I saying? So, what changes happened to the map since I left? Well, we did a little bit more of scenery work. I did this river, and then I started working in this direction. I did a couple more homesteads, or a couple more farmhouses, farm areas. Really nothing exciting. Mostly this river. We haven't gotten past this river. This is where we're at. I think I was going to put in. I remembered saying I was going to put in a track that went down this way and then curved to the left, or curved to the to its left to my right. I haven't been in Discord since before yesterday, so I want to peruse whatever 475 memes there might be. Where might you find your survey? It should have been, like, in an email to you after you... Did you not do your survey yet? I thought you did. Hold on, let me check. I thought I saw a response from you. Because I didn't have people to yell at. Like, all the people that hadn't finished their surveys were people that I didn't know and couldn't just directly yell at. Oh, no, there you are. Oh, not now. Although, in fairness, I already have your address. But I don't know where you would find your survey, probably in your email. So just please do that, and also, you did not buy a locomotive suggestion this time, just like last time. Terrific in both ways of the word. Yeah, no, Mew, the volume of the 475 memes is out of control. There are so many. Yeah, I don't know if I can check what email you have listed. But yeah, check whatever email you think it might be in. Alright, so we are going to have this come down here. Yeah. You're not the only one. I mean, it's like the same 3 jokes over and over again. I mean, I'm not, like, upset about the continued existence of them. I was impressed by how fast they, Mopac, shut up. I was impressed by how fast they started, but now we're, like, 2 days on, it's like, okay, we get it. 475 had a crash. Unless I see something genuinely, yeah, genuinely entertaining and unique, and, like, somebody could put a new spin on it. But, like, all of the, your train has crashed, session has ended memes, yeah, okay, we kind of knew those were coming, and they came and they went. I don't feel like there's new ground to be covered with the 475 memes. But, you know what? If people prove me wrong, that's fine. But if they don't, I'm going to be, like, palpably unimpressed. I don't want to tell people what is and isn't funny. I've seen a lot of them now. I want to turn this into a smooth curve. Smooth jazz. It's not a smooth curve at all. It's in fact very not smooth. Stop posting about 475. I'm tired of seeing it. That's got to be the next iteration. You know what? You've just inspired something, Ham. How about the GTA Wasted? No, it's got to be something more elaborate. Like you know, it's the same sort of, yeah, 475 had an oof. The most creative one I've seen recently was like that it was getting scrapped because somebody messed with the Wikipedia article, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's it might not be like unique or necessarily original, but it's something I hadn't seen yet. You won't have to dig very far to find the jokes. Okay. Wordplay is not it. I'll just say that much. Wordplay is not it. You're not that guy, pal. There was a stop posting about 475 meme this morning. Of course there was. I missed that one. I'm kind of upset that I missed it. I'm sure, but you know, it's not the end of the world that I didn't see that one. All right, let's lower this. Only truck play. No. No. No, TJ. Gaunt. Okay. Let's just dig this out for the road. That way we'll have this sort of eroded berm. The next thing I want to do... And you run into an excavator. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was funny when it started. And again, I was impressed by how quickly people jumped on it. Not that the Strasbourg crew was necessarily happy about that, but I don't know. There isn't a ton to say about it, I feel. The Switch wasn't lying, they weren't paying attention, like... It's just... Stuff happens. Okay, so... I want to... Stuff happens and sometimes costs you an inordinate amount of money. Actually, I want something worse than this. Oh, you know what? I think I have something. Where's my sugar mill track? There we go. Give me this. The hot track. First discovered and used this on the Iron Horseman Marvel Universe What If, replacing it with 611. Okay, so this has to go this way. I do want it to be completely buried by the road. Some people have a certain affinity for having abandoned track on their layout, and I've made mention of why I think that sometimes gets out of hand and stops being a good idea. But I'm still one of those people. I like having the world filled with lore, I suppose. Like environmental storytelling, almost. Call me Bethesda over here. So this track would have been to a resort on the beach, but the spur is no longer there. It's no longer connected. So this is just a it's an abandoned piece of track. Because this creek leads down to the ocean side, which would be over here or so. It's one remnant of sort of turn-offs on this section, which this is number one, and then number two is, of course, Jasper Mills up here, which is still intact and functional. Yeah, you and a lot of people. People really like more than I'd anticipated, people really like sort of abandoned sections on routes. And I get it. I mean, I get it on a personal level. Like, I can not rationally, I can sort of empathize, if you will. Because I, too, like this stuff. Alright, we're going to need a buffer stop here. Which, let's go grab one, once again. This is, my entire route is this pick list. Yeah. Do like environmental storytelling. Stuff that serves no immediate purpose is good and cool. It makes the world feel like a world, not just props thrown up around the train tracks. And I agree with that. I agree with that to an extent. I know I've said... Wait a minute, I might be able to do it the other way around. I know I've said before... Oh, no? What if I'm doing all this to prevent doing the most basic amount of work. Holy crap, I did it. The most minimal amount of work I've successfully avoided. Now it seems too long, though. Ah, whatever, it's fine. Yeah, you want to make sure, if you're making a good route, and I often talk about what makes a good route, and I don't want to disparage or discourage people that don't do all this, but I do often talk about what makes a good route, in my opinion. A good and complete route. And one of those things is sort of the world around it. You have to be conscious of the fact that there is a that it isn't just tracks put down. Um, the RPI level play a hell of a Skyrim while only sometimes dropping frames. Yeah, no, it's it's a beast. Uh, People have lives and can't spend the entire life making a hyper detailed route. I mean, yeah, I suppose so. There are certainly tools that can help you go further with that, but um, no, I mean on the in a general sense, I agree. You have to be conscious of the fact that you're building a world and not just a path for trains. I mean, you can be, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going whole hog, you have to sort of acknowledge what else there is beyond. All right, I'm not going to make this mistake for the fifth time in a row. We're going to do the grass first. So anyway, what the hell was I saying? Something about world building. It's important. It's good. It's good to pay attention to that stuff if you care about building a full and complete and fleshed out world that you are running trains in instead of just a railroad or something to run trains on. You could treat this in a myriad of ways. I mean, if you want to treat trains like an overgrown model railroad simulator, which in some respects it kind of is, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Um, yeah, and that's exactly what Hemlock is saying. It's fine to just want to play trains. It's fine to just say like, nah, this is just my happy place where I build and do whatever. I mean, it's a single player game. It's not, you don't need to worry about other people's expectations if you don't choose to care about them. If you don't choose to make a route publicly available, if you don't choose to ask for it to be judged or looked over, uh, if you don't choose to sort of nobody's asking you, or well, at least nobody's forcing you to share what you've built in this game. It's a thing that's for you. I mean, we have MPS now coming in, and that changes the dynamic a lot. When you're doing stuff in an MPS, right, you all need to be on the same page about whether you're building just like a railroad for kicks or whether you're going to go and make a world. But um, that's not what most people here have done or are going to do or even able to do right now, because of the way it's sort of gated, I suppose. All right, so I'm putting the grass up where it is because I want to make this lower area sort of a what's it call it? Just like not like a floodplain, but more marshy. I'm marking this off as this is where the trees are gonna end. Um, but yeah, I mean, again, nobody's forcing you to do this stuff, but if you're here, it's probably because you like doing the full map. Uh, because I'm not holding back by any means. I'm not trying to cut corners. Sometimes I do because, like Em said, I only have a limited amount of time. I do have a life. Well, I have other things to pay attention to, at least, whether you'd call that a life or not. Um, and, like, I am trying to, the advice that I give, I'm going to try to gear towards if you're trying to follow in my footsteps, if you're trying to build your own Tolbrand, maybe not with the same sort of scale, or maybe not necessarily with the same sort of, goals or background, because there's a million ways to skin a cat. Like I said, it's a single player game. You can do whatever you want. But if you're trying to make something in the same ballpark or with the same sort of vibe, then that's what I want to gear my advice towards, because otherwise my advice is just like, do whatever you want, nobody cares. Like, do whatever you want, don't worry about what other people think. You're making a Trainz route, you're building it for you. um, as long as you like it, that's all that matters. uh, so yeah, but you when you're building a world, yes, you need to consider that there are things beyond the railroad. There are probably, depending on your era, there is almost definitely a road network, probably some sort of highway or interstate network that's gonna more than likely be going that's more than likely going to be going between the same towns that your railroad is. So you need to be conscious of, like, okay, because this is one of the things that there are two things that annoy me more than anything when I look at a route that was built, that I am looking over, and it's uh, river systems that make no sense. That's kind of number one, because that's the easiest. Like, river flows, water goes downhill. Water goes downhill. It doesn't split, it merges. Water goes downhill. Like, look at a map. Water goes downhill. It's going to dictate what your terrain looks like. It's going to dictate what itself and the rivers and water features look like. It's going to dictate a lot of stuff. Where your water goes, it's going to matter a lot. And if you have a river that goes off screen into a pocket and doesn't come out anywhere, like if you have if I had a river that was flowing from Lionhead Lake, from the lake monsters domain, and just went like that into this area. Well, that doesn't work because this river comes out of here. But if this river wasn't there and I had another river that flowed in to this area, I would be looking around going, all right, yeah, but where's the rest of it? Where does it come out? And this is a relatively small stream that you can say, well, that, this sort of, I mean, it's not as small as it probably should be, but it originates in this area. This is its watershed. And that is that's important. Like, you have to pay attention to that. You have little kettle lakes, sure, with nothing going in and nothing coming out. Oh yeah, and when you're placing your towns, you probably want to be cognizant of water as well. But like this, you've got the river, it flows this way, and then it flows around outside the map, and then it flows down, and then it flows out. This comes in from outside. This comes in from, actually, I think this, no, it does have an inlet right there. This doesn't have an inlet, but it's a depression in the earth, and then it flows out and goes somewhere. You have to pay attention to that stuff. You have to know where your rivers are coming from and where they're going. These two rivers, they come also from up in the mountains, and they go down this way towards the shore. This one, likewise. Don't build towns on the inside of the river curve. There are reasons why not, but I'm curious why you say that, Kevin. If you could elaborate, that'd be very cool. But that's my number one, is just where your water's coming from, where you're going. Dynamic water flow would be nuts, and it would probably cause Trainz to explode more PCs. It would be kind of cool if you could just take your existing terrain map and run that once, and then Trainz would go, okay, yeah, here are your lakes, you know? But I think that's just called having a dem. I wonder if you can do dem but in reverse and just take your Trainz map and export it into like a hydrolysis program that would then model that for you, because there are softwares that do exactly what you're talking about, TBA, on the small scale. Erosion and meandering. Yeah, and that's very true. I mean, depends on the size of the river and the speed of the river, but yeah, something inside of the turn of a river, or even just too close to it, probably is not very permanent. I see you're saying if Trainz had the tools. I mean, it doesn't have a physics engine is the thing. You would need to build something from the ground up, hey Brian, to do this. Or you would steal a river generator like you place down a lake and let inflow naturally. I mean, yeah, it's still in this sort of in the same vein. I'm not necessarily poo-pooing the idea. I think it's a very cool idea. But Trainz is not equipped to handle that. In a what-if scenario, no, absolutely, I agree. But that is a lot of computational power. Especially, like, you definitely wouldn't be able to run it all the time. You might be able to just run it once. It would be nice to be able to run it once and just make sure that your river systems make sense with the terrain that you've built. And that you're not going to just, like, pool in water somewhere. But sometimes you can just use your eyes for that. I mean, it's not the the City Skylines one is the one that came to mind. Like they actually have a functional, or as close as can get to a functional water system like that works in real time. City Skylines is an interesting game. I have always wanted to play it, but ever since Soviet Republic Works and Resources came out, or Works and you know what I mean. Ever since that game came out, I've wanted that instead. Like I don't really want City Skylines. It's not complicated enough. Um, oh yeah, and Timber, like more and more games have a functional water physics thing. Hey Orion, doing all right? How are you? Um, because people like that. People like to watch water flow just on a very basic level. It's one of those things that you just sort of understand. You know, you go, wow, watch that. Yeah. You go to the beach and you like build a thing and you pour water in it and you watch water flow around it and like knock things over and it's the most fascinating thing in the world as a child. I used to spend hours there was a water table at the Children's Museum and it was just like pipes that you could attach to each other and then like a big pool where the pipes fed into and like a big thing at the end of that pool that would generate a whirlpool if you put too much water in it or too little water or something like that. I would spend all day there. I would spend all day there. And it was the coolest goddamn thing on the planet. Um, so yeah, I mean humans and the fascination with water, it runs pretty deep. Um, so yeah, water's my number one. I know I only got halfway through my oh, did you ping me in the Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at that later. Thank you. Thank you, Em. Um, oh, what the hell was I saying? If you, oh yeah, right. That was my number one. Today's been a day looking forward to tomorrow, and maybe my B day I can get money quickly. Ooh, maybe. Humans live with water since the beginning of time, so it's expected. Yeah, I know, it's true. And it's just one of those forces of nature, you know. These things that we see that are basically completely irrespective of our existence, that we can sort of shape and direct, but we have no full control over. I remember the tsunami wave gate table at Liberty Science Center. I spent an hour on that thing. Yeah, um, that sounds so cool. That sounds like exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. There was even like a little river flow thing at the Independence Seaport Museum in Philadelphia when I was there, seeing the Olympia and stuff. Which Drakenfeld's video on the Olympia came out today, which was awesome. Um, except for the sound issues, but can't be helped. Number two is because this is where I started the conversation. I wanted to get rivers out of the way first. Number two is road systems. If you have a road feeding into a piece of land and going nowhere from there, I need to know where it goes. I need to know why it doesn't come out the other side. Like stuff like this. Like these are little farm roads that lead out into nothing. Yeah, that makes sense. But like this paved road, which is ostensibly a major road, curves off to the right, runs up into the hills, helping the family farm clean up so we can make it a homestead. Looking forward to my B-Day because I found out that I can fire one of the secondaries on BB-62. Awesome. Um, we're all making a adult trip to the PVD Children's Museum. Yes, that's Operation Apollo 2. Um, that road is supposed to connect to this road. So this one runs off this way. And will eventually run off map, but will also run in this direction so it can connect to this. And I think that's the only connect. You've got to go all the way around to make this connection. Liberty Science Center, yes. Jersey City, no. We're gonna go crawl through the giant heart of the Franklin Institute. The Tellus world of science. The Franklin Institute is such a cool museum. Even as an adult. Like, it's one of those sort of like, it's an adult children's museum. Children's museums are not just for children, okay? They're there for anyone who doesn't know everything. That's everyone. Go learn you some, okay? Like, there's a gajillion museums in the US alone. Go learn something. Gloria and I were just talking about how we have to get out more, how we have to get out and do more stuff. There are so many museums in Rhode Island alone that I haven't been to ever, or I haven't been to in years, and like it's just there's so much stuff. Like you can go learn about anything you want, anything. Uh, the world is an amazing, fascinating place, and like never underestimate your ability to learn something or your ability to expand your horizons beyond what you know or you think you know. New England is museum land, but I mean, there's museums everywhere. Just on the most random stuff. Museum of this one dude, you know? Museum of Pump Jacks. That's a thing I found out about. It's in a little town in Pennsylvania. Not where I would have expected a museum of pump jacks, but there you go. Museum of Working Culture is a really cool one that I haven't been to in a long time, and when I was there, I didn't appreciate it. Like, I've always wanted to go back as an adult because I knew as a kid I was bored out of my mind and didn't care. Now I'm, like, I have more patience. I won't say I'm smarter, but I have more patience. Hudson Bergen Light Rail. Well, the silver linings, you know? I mean, it is like the only thing to go to Woonsocket for. I've never been, but I remember when there was a failed attempt in another group to model railroad of Rhode Island. Oh, wow. Yeah, well, my Museum of Pump Jacks will fight your Museum of Pump Jacks, okay? It was just one of those things. We stopped for gas in this town uh, on the way to Chicago. It was our it was our second gas stop. I think it was like Ephrata, Pennsylvania. All right, good night, Dragon. Feel better. Um, who wants to go see the dinosaur at the Field Museum? Yes. Oh, that's the other thing. You know, when we were in Chicago, we saw like half of the museums. Not even half. We saw some of the museums. We saw half of like the big ticket museums. I haven't been to the Museum of like Natural History, like the Museum of New York City, in forever and ever. You know, Night at the Museum is a documentary. But I've go to every museum ship on the planet as long as it's not a country that likes invading neighbors. Well, I've got bad news for you. That rules out, I think, every museum ship. We also have the biggest dinosaur museum in the world. Oh, that's dope. But I mean, yeah. Can't go to any U.S. museum ship, or Japanese museum ship, or Russian museum ship, or British museum ship. If you want a museum that's a diamond in the rough, you like space, Neil Armstrong A&S Museum in Ohio. Here's one. The museums in Cleveland are actually quite neat. They've got one of the giant iron ore boats docked there as a museum. They've also got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is neat. Can't say anything bad about that place. There are few reasons to go to Cleveland, but those are two of them. Sadly, any country that had large boats was doing that because they like invading the neighbors. Yeah, that's actually that's a good point. It really has nothing to do with. I mean, it has everything to do with the nations in question, but it's sort of like a foregone conclusion of like, if you have anything worth being a museum ship, it's probably because you had ships, and you probably had ships because you did the war. Well, you said, Orion, you didn't put a time limit on it. I was just thinking the War of 1812, like, so, But yeah, I mean, what about museum bananas and banana accessories? There's definitely a banana museum somewhere. On some banana plantation, they probably have, like, plantation engines that are super cute. If you want to limit it to countries that haven't invaded anyone recently, or invaded their neighbors specifically, you did say neighbors, recently, I suppose that does open the door to a lot of things. But, you know, every intervention in South America. Well, see, those aren't neighbors. They're in the neighborhood, but they're not neighbors. That's, semantics, really. Banana Museum would have an Jesus Christ, go to horny jail. I know it's no, not November, but bruh. Uh, yeah, bad news about the U.S. invading people. Uh, but it's a special military operation. Remodeled Air and Space Museum is probably very cool. I haven't been. Wait, when did they remodel it? Because I was there in like 2018. Has it changed since then? Uh, you missed Orion getting sent to horny jail. Other than that, not really much. I mean, we did some AI at the very beginning, and now I'm just placing down grass because I don't want to get caught with my pants down for the 15th time in a row, where it has changed. Ooh, I gotta go back. Um, where I put all the trees down and then I can't see the grass, and I'm trying to build grass at 6 frames per second. Oh no, I missed bananas. You did not miss bananas. There were no bananas. I swear to God, you guys, you're gonna make me go bananas. Um, the Breakers and the other Newport mansions are such incredible pieces of architecture and opulence. Um, I cannot say enough about them. I was jaw on the floor. I've been through 4 of them. I did it all in one day. I was jaw on the floor through every single one, but especially the Breakers. The Newport mansions are incredible. Um, Lucky you, Shoreline. I don't even have a steam locomotive in my state, and you've got a space shuttle. It's bananas, B-A-N-A. I have that song on my iPod. I was crushed when I realized, like, I never, like, listened to it and paid attention to it. And then it finally came on and I realized it was a clean version. I was kind of upset. There are a few songs in Iron Horseman Radio that are the clean version. Like, we have the clean version of X Gon Give It To You, which is such an explicit song. Like, there's a point where I feel like the clean version, you're no longer just, like, sparing children's ears. You're just ruining a song. Like, Wings and Pizza as, like, the child edition of WAP. For those who don't know what that is, please look it up. It's incredible. Um, but Wings and Pizza as the child edition of WAP is a better, like, clean version of a song than the clean version of X Gon Give It To You is of X Gon Give It To You. It's like all censored. It's just like you don't even know what people are saying anymore.
Kids Bop version of songs are just stupid.
I'm not talking about the Kids Bop version. I'm comparing like the redux of songs to make them kid friendly versus just clean versions of songs. Like, I would rather listen to Wings and Pizza than I would the clean version of X Gon Give It To You, because you're losing half the lyrics. Um, Museum of Flight in Seattle. Ooh, I haven't been on the West Coast since 2018, and even then I was only really in um, San Francisco, which is a wonderful place and has its own cool museums. Go see Liberty Ships, by the way. They're awesome. I'm Slim. Yeah, I mean, it's the thing with Eminem songs is sometimes the lyrics will be changed to make it clean, so it's not just like bleeps and blank spaces in the lyrics. It's you know, like in Without Me, there's a line about uh sorry for the ears, like come on your lips and a little on your tits or something like that. And the clean version is like step back and wiggle your hips, and like it doesn't sound out of place. And if you don't know that that's not the original lyric, you're probably never going to notice. and that's fine. Like that's good. Um, age restricted, yeah. A&A is getting some heavy work done and it's out for a few days. I have not been to. It's been a long time. The Henry Ford was cool. Yeah, yeah. Don't at the Henry Ford they have one of the diners that they have here in Providence. The Worcester the lunch counter car thing, like the fake dining car turned restaurant. I would love to get up to the arcade in Attica at some point. Um, I remember having this conversation with you, like long, long time ago when I was first showing off the Lorraine Diner. It's such a cool and unique place. Um, and it was. Hold on. Now I'm looking it up. Lorraine Diner, Providence. It's the Miss Lorraine Diner. It's in Pawtucket, even. I got all that wrong. I got everything wrong. Um, which, please give me, like, the history. Who are we? Da 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 da. Nope, that's not helpful. I mean, it's a cool website, but it's not very useful. Um, Miss Lorraine Diner opens in Lorraine Mills. Worcester Streamliner Dining Car. Worcester Streamliner Dining Car. Worcester Lunch Car Company. Um, blah, blah, blah. Examples many diners still exist in the Worcester area, including Casey's Diner in Natick, or in nearby Natick, and the Boulevard Diner in Worcester. I don't know if you um, recognize those. Oh, TJ, the Miss Worcester Diner still exists in its original location across the street from the former factory. Um, Worcester Lunch Car Company 806 moved to its current location, where it still operates in the Elmwood section of Providence. Adams, Massachusetts. Oh, Adams, Massachusetts has one. Farways, Florida. The Henry Ford Museum contains a notable example of a Worcester lunch car diner called Lammy's, built in 1946. In January 2012, it once again began serving food. So, yes, the one in the Henry Ford Museum, there's a lot, there's a decent amount of examples here. Yeah, Miss Lorraine Diner, lunch car number 774. You could make a whole fandom of these things. See ya, Stellar. Um, when you were a kid, you never paid attention to Henry Ford after we passed the train stuff. Yeah. Um, so yeah, sorry to get distracted with that. I'll go back to placing grass now. But yeah, if you look up the Worcester Lunch Counter Car or the Worcester Lunch Car Company, you can find all those surviving examples. It would be neat to try and hit up all of them. You know, all of the surviving Worcester lunch cars. It's like the people that go over the world trying to see all of the oh, what is that? What is that unique car with the center headlight that turns? The Tuckers. There are like 47 Tuckers or something like that. No, no. I mean, it would be, except this does not move. It's a dining. It's an excursion to see dining cars, not a dining car excursion. Nothing but diners. Isn't that was going to be the plot of a Horseman episode? That was going to be the plot of a really dumb comedic Horseman episode, which would be a flashback to young, well, relatively young Sally on the Iron Horseman Railroad, rounding up all of the dining cars because she thought they looked the best, and putting a train together out of them because she wanted the nicest looking train, and it just looks like a mess, because it's just all of the dining cars they have. Uh, that just, man, I haven't thought about that in forever. It was called Too Many Cooks. You can probably guess why we wrote that as a thing. But diners, drive-ins, and dives, but it's Iron Horseman edition. I should make Locust Grove. That's on Strasburg, is it not? Locust Grove. No, I'm thinking of Groff's Grove. Where's Locust Grove? What are you referencing? I wouldn't be opposed to making a place called that. Too Many Cooks? Yeah, I know you. I assume I've just reminded you. Okay, Locust Grove, Georgia. Hold on, let me look this up. Locust Grove, Georgia. Let's see what this town looks like. Oh, that is a weird. town edge map. I don't know if that's horrendously gerrymandered or just because that was convenient at the time, but man, that looks like a mess. Oh, they have a Tanger outlets. Um, man, this is like... This is an interesting town. This is just all developments. This is... Ooh. That said, this would be the era where things would start to look like this. So it might not be a bad idea to use as inspiration. I'm going to put this down on my list. Let's see. Station town name ideas. Locust Grove. And let me save the location of it in my ideas sheet. Thank you for the recommendation. Did I hear car dependent urban development? It's extremely so. Yeah, Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives Horseman Edition, but it's just like Worcester lunch counter cars and nothing else. It's not urban development really. It's extremely suburban, edging on rural. There is no urban here. I mean, it might be like urban as defined by the census, but the definition of urban as defined by the census is hilariously broad. What's the nickname of that show again? What's the nickname for that show? Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives Horseman Edition. Isn't it just Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives? I've never watched the show, so I wouldn't know. Something about taking a trip to Flavortown, probably. Something, slather myself up in barbecue sauce and turn off the injector. One last trip to Flavor... Triple D. God damn it. You too go to horny jail. Y'all are out of control tonight. Or even the horseshoe curve. We will probably have a horseshoe curve or several in this route. Especially once we get up... Well, actually... Ver, I don't recognize your name, so I'm going to assume you're new here. Which means you get to... I don't know if that's... Nah, I don't believe you. Which means you get to see parts of the map for the first time, which is cool. We have this, which is a horseshoe curve. Sure you did. So we've got something. We've got something. This is a start. They ran a diner for commuters' breakfast service. There probably was. Did the Comet have like a coffee counter? I feel like that should have been a thing if it wasn't. And there were probably fancy railroads with way too much money to burn that decided they could sell, you know, coffee and bagels on the train. I mean, Amtrak sort of does that now, but they're not a commuter service. Well, they're not a commuter service by definition, but... Cough, cough, PRR. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's what plays in my head when I think of a railroad with too much money. Technically still does. Long Island Railroad has cafes? I haven't ridden the Long Island Railroad, really. Maybe like once or twice when I was in New York, but I don't... When I'm in New York, I tend not to go off in that direction. Like, I stay in Manhattan and sometimes Brooklyn. Because I'm a tourist. Or, I don't think a Metro North's bar car, but that wasn't food. Yeah, I mean, but neither is Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, really. It's, you know, I'm pretty sure it's made of the material that, like, children's play sets is made of. And I say that as someone who frequents Dunkin' Donuts. Well, not frequents, but I used to. I actually used to have, like, a hierarchy of Dunkin' Donuts in the Troy area, specifically. I would go out of my way to go to the one downtown in Troy when I was heading off for my drive home on the weekends, because they had consistently better food than the one across the river in Watervliet. Every time I stopped there, I got, like, a disaster of an egg sandwich, which could barely be called that. And when I got it from the one downtown, it was at least passable. Like, it wasn't good, but it was passable. I can't describe it as good, really. It's Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, the donuts are okay. but they're not like good donuts. The fact that gourmet donuts have taken the world by storm has really just shown everyone how miserable chain donuts have been for our entire lifetimes. And yes, I know I'm paying $3.50 for a donut, but the donut tastes like heaven. It tastes like you're taking a bite out of an actual angel. Um, or at least I assume so. And the only chain donut shop that can stand up to like need donuts downtown is Krispy Kreme. And it's not because it's because uh I don't want to hear it, Brian. It's because they like the fancy donut shops go fancy. Like they have fancy stuff. They have fancy like toppings and whatever. Uh, but the Krispy Kreme donuts, the best donut that Krispy Kreme makes is the plain glazed donut. I know plain and glazed not the same thing, but you know what I mean. Just the glazed donut. It's the best thing there. And honestly, it's probably the best donut. Like, don't get me wrong. The like strawberry shortcake donut from Need that costs me $4 at the train station. Sure, that is maybe the best singular donut I've ever tasted, but the Krispy Kreme, you can get a dozen of them for the same price. That's exaggeration, but you know what I mean. It's you can get an entire box of heaven for cheaper than you can buy two donuts at one of these gourmet shops. Um, Dunkin' Donuts is way too politicized for me to spend money on their less than favorable donuts. Damn. Uh, I can't think of any policies that Dunkin' Donuts supports. I mean, I would suppose you could argue they support homelessness by having one homeless guy outside of every single one. You know him. You've seen him. Even if you don't go to the Dunkin' Donuts, you know he's there. Um, but I'm not sure I want to know about Dunkin' Donuts' politics. The politics of donuts. The donut throne. Thronuts. Uh, now I'm just losing it. The staff on site. I feel like that's not a Dunkin' Donuts problem. That's a people problem. Uh, that's not a company thing. That's not Chick-fil-A not opening on Sundays. That's just like people being rude. And you know what? If I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, I would probably also be rude. Uh, Tim Hortons has both the best donuts and the best ice caps. Yeah, I'm gonna chalk that up to nationalism and move on. I don't know where Krispy Kreme was created, but whatever, like, it's Krispy Kreme. Um, it becomes a company problem when it's yeah a problem, sure, but not a policy. Um, kept what? Okay, sure. I don't. I feel like the expectation of having a private conversation in a public place is sort of. Uh, I mean, yeah, I mean, don't necessarily butt on a stranger's conversations, but don't not expect people to do that when you're having a conversation in a public place. That said, uh, it is kind of proper decorum for a worker to remain impartial, but workers are people too. You know, the Dunkin' Donuts employees are people too, so I don't feel like that's on you, but I don't feel like it's totally on them either. And at the same time, I definitely don't think it's on Dunkin' Donuts as a company. Um, I highly doubt they have a don't like get involved in customers' political conversations or regular conversations or whatever, like as part of the training. So, um, I'm back with soup. What do you mean you're at soup? Uh, Alright, now I need to do all this. This is going to be a major step forward, and I'm glad I'm doing this in the right order, because otherwise it would take me freaking forever. Uh, it would take me even longer. I want my own Blender robot and program it to say that particularly. You mean Bender? Um, you mean Bender? Because I think there's a typo. Um, I mean a Blender robot would be nice too. I mean I think that's just called a blender actually. A Blender robot is just a regular blender. I want a Blender robot. I'm pretty sure it's just a regular blender. My girlfriend asked me why I was carrying a gun around the house. And I said, Decepticons. She laughed, I laughed, the toaster laughed, I shot the toaster. It's great. Uh, as in one for the 3D modeling software. Oh yeah, that's fair. Here's the thing though. If doing like coding, what little of it I did in school and also Trainz AI has taught me anything, it it won't be smarter than you. It won't be. It'll be dumber than you because it will make mistakes that you wouldn't. Uh, and it'll all be all your fault because you programmed it. So like, you know, if you want a bender AI, um, that's different. But like, wouldn't it be cool to just like put a thing? Actually, that is a thing. You can do a 3D scan of something and import it into Blender if you have the right equipment, though, can't you? Because doing a 3D scan of a model in real life and then doing Blender on it to adapt it into, say, 50 versions of the same kind of locomotive at Tyler would probably be quicker than doing it by hand. Let's imagine a world where I don't have to UV map everything. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, that's not the world we live in. I'd love to imagine a world where I could only build the parts of a railroad that I wanted to build, and then the rest of them would just fill in. Like if I could just be like suburbs here, please, and there would just be suburbs there, but I still get to lay all the track. Uh, you know, a part of that can be accomplished with a DEM, like, but not like the placing of the buildings. Problem is that the robot does tend to be stupid. The mess you get from importing stuff into the Blender tends to be a horribly optimized mess. Yeah, that sounds like it makes sense. That sounds reasonable. I feel like it's a running theme where the things that like should eliminate steps just add more steps or just slightly different steps that take more time. You know? It's like, oh, we've made this software or this program that can do XYZ, but you still have to come in as a human in the back end because it does it so imperfectly that the person would have been able to do it better. Um, put into force here, please. Ellis Almighty, coming to a railroad near you. Yeah, Ellis, it's my turn. Are you trying to play chess with me? What are you doing? What do you mean it's my turn? What are you talking about? Did you write like a chess thing up here that I missed? Did you write like E4? Start trying to do notation chess with me? Cause I nope, not gonna be able to do that. The best part is no part, yeah. The best part of route building is when the route is done and you do the AI. That's me anyway. Honestly, I don't want to get into the whole MPS debacle right now, but maybe it's better that I'm not doing an MPS route so that I can just dedicate all my time to doing AI. I accepted your challenge. What challenge? What did I miss? What did I say? Do I have do you have the new trains like the ES44 ACs? Um I don't have a ton of the newer stuff. I know a lot of the good newer stuff is payware that like JR produces incredible stuff. It's just expensive. I tend to model transition era ish mostly because that's the part that I find most fascinating because I like Steam and early gen diesel is cool and all. Um, but it's also just a logistically interesting time. And it's also a time period that I feel like is still something we can relate to because it shows up in many, many like pop culture things, you know? As someone who doesn't play Trainz, what is MPS? Multiplayer Surveyor, MPS. Um, Viewers are way too copy paste. Yeah. Um, so, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, number one. Number two, yeah, no, I don't have a lot of the newer stuff. Um, Doing modern train stuff is like it's neat. You know, I'll play Run 8, but it's not really my area of entertainment, I suppose. What's the matter, Easty? Okay, I just log into Lichess and I've said challenge put forth. What? Oh, you know what? It was probably the one I invited you to when we tried to play the first time, because you never joined that one and I joined yours instead. But no, I'm not doing chess in the middle of this. If I were to do chess at the same time, where I just like tab over and think about a move for a while I root build, that would be something else. We're not doing it here. KE2. Von Cloud. Uh, Alright, fill this in. Do you think we have enough splines yet? I don't. East Rail 3. The proto East Rail. Does anyone think this is like the 11th version of my son here? There have just been subsequent iterations like that's the lore. It's like I created him like freaking Professor Newtonium over here. Or Utonium or whatever his name is. And he's just like the 11th version uh, of my attempt. I put in the right amount of chemical X this time. There's no such thing as too many splines. Why use an armored train when you can just put Stalin's refrigerator on a flat car? Outstanding. Why not the refrigerator from the fourth Indiana Jones movie? That thing seemed pretty bomb-proof. Here's another thing about the 50s. There's just a certain, like... There was apparently an epidemic of people getting shut inside fridges, or at least getting inside fridges. Why is that such a thing? There was even a quest in Fallout 4 about a kid who was stuck in a fridge. Did they fix the spline lag? That was kind of an issue in TRS 2006. No, not really. I just have a better computer. If you go too crazy with the splines, you will run into spline-based lag. However, there are tools now you can use to eliminate the necessity for splines over large swaths of ground. Also, welcome to the channel, Lord Misanthrope. Welcome to the channel, Lord. I can show you something in a second. But and I hope this isn't just boring people, you know. We've got new people in the stream, and I swear to God, this is not what I do all the time. I'm working my way down this section here. For the new people, we have all of this route, all of this stuff. It's all done for the most part. No idea how you'd KE2, so I pawn K5. Actually, I'd like to move the king to C2. Oh right, okay. So the beach over here. So you can see this is covered with grass, but it's not splines. It's actually it's a sort of ground texture. And it has its own problems with lag when you get right in close to it. I mean, look at this. My computer's angry right now. But it does do a good job of covering an area without splines. You just need to not go too hard with it. I mean, look how thick this is. Oh, I'm in the walk camera. Just wading through tall grass. No, it's not great on lower end computers, I'll say that much. If you use it for certain, like, here's the thing. If you have to cover a large area like that with grass sort of ground cover, if you have a low end computer, you're just not going to be able to do it. Splines are your best option, but you're probably better off not trying to cover it. And then as you get higher up, splines become a better option, but as the area gets larger, then the turf effects becomes a better option. Because otherwise you're going to be dealing with hundreds of splines. And not only will it be difficult to run, it'll just plain be difficult to make. It'll take you forever to spline up that whole area. And maybe some of this I should have been doing with splines, or with turf effects. But I've found that it's best for large swaths that are farther from the camera instead of closer. Good evening, comrade. I'm going to have to take this on in the background as I take West Virginia to a national championship in NCAA 09. Baller. I tried to make a Buffalo CSX Frontier when my computer told me off for my efforts. Yeah, I understand that. I totally understand that. I'm in a constant struggle. The balance of power in my life is the computer parts I have available on hand and the size of Tolbrand. Basically, I upgraded my computer when I started doing Tolbrand, and then I got to a point where I couldn't do any more until I upgraded my computer again. Tolbrand, for the record, is this map. If you Google that, you'll get the game Besiege, which is a wonderful game that I stole this name from, and I feel kind of bad about it, but I suppose I'm just asking for permission rather than, or sorry, for forgiveness rather than permission, and I don't feel like they care very much anyway. I don't believe they've copyrighted their names. I'm not trying to be conflated with them or steal their thunder. In fact, they steal mine, I feel like. Because I say Google Tolbrand and people get Siege. I've always thought about changing the name of the peninsula to something else. Changing the name of the map. But there would be a lot of lore updating. It'd be pretty neat if content like this was streamed on Twitch. I think it's possible to have OES streamed to both YouTube and Net concurrently. That's interesting. I wonder if that'd be more of a drain on my computer. Probably not, because you're just encoding once. But while I have a Twitch, I'm not really interested in maintaining more presences elsewhere online. I already spent enough time doing things like that. I don't feel like setting up another thing. I've never streamed on Twitch. I think I just got the account so I could comment or something. Mountain Bay Valley Peninsula. Yeah, no, I was tossing around ideas like that. I was also looking at areas like that for multiplayer surveyor because, you know, I had an idea. I guess I will spill the beans on this now that it doesn't hurt quite as much to talk about. I will spill the beans on this, which was my initial plan for our next multiplayer surveyor project as a horseman community, which Horseman community, you can join Discord. It's linked in the thing. East, what are you doing? Yeah, so anyway, what the hell was I saying? I don't want to do more, like, things online. I already do enough stuff. I can't recall. I got distracted, then I saw East's ping. Oh yeah, join the community. Next thing we were going to do as a community was this multiplayer surveyor thing. Because a bunch of people have Trainz Plus, which is a subscription, which I have and just got the bill for. I didn't know when that was, so it just sort of came out of nowhere. I don't like the fact that it's in early November, because the bill happens to coincide very closely with my car insurance payment. Either way. Point is, here was my plan. With minimal planning, we take a chunk of dem from the world, like 100 miles by 100 miles. We're talking a huge swath of Earth that is diverse. Something that has flatlands, something that has rolling hills, something that has some mountains such that terrain is not impassable, but difficult unless you plan ahead and plan wisely. Now notice that I already said no planning. The idea was we have this chunk of Earth and we just get dropped in it. We just go into multiplayer surveyor with this 100 by 100 square and decide to build stuff on it, not necessarily knowing or certainly not caring where it came from. Uh, so that means no worrying about existing rail lines, no worrying about existing towns, existing roads, existing water features, although those are probably going to be the same because the terrain dictates your water features and your water features dictate terrain, as I talked about earlier. Um, and, you know, yeah, it makes it sound like spin tires. I mean, yeah, I mean, think of just a spin tires map, but there's nothing on it and you've got to build railroads. Uh, Mostly, the point was that we would be building from scratch an empire on a chunk of land that was untouched. So everything there was ours. Everything there would be driven by us. Or Minecraft with train mods is one of the ideas that like sort of drove that. The other thing that drove it was like transport fever, trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. Um, and that's what I had pitched. I had a beautiful piece of land picked out for it, which was like in the Berkshires and Catskills and the Hudson Valley and everything like that. But unfortunately, not everyone was on board for that, so we're not doing that, which makes me sad. But I probably wouldn't have had the time to do it anyway. So, yeah, Rareheads Online. Uh, yeah, there's certainly a genre for you have a chunk of landscape and now you have to build across it, which is, most tycoon games, really. Uh, but doing that in Trainz, I thought was going to be sort of a little bit different. It'd almost be like playing sandbox mode in one of these games. But the goal is just to build a world and not to become a tycoon. So, uh, and I had looked at like Mountain Desert Island as a possibility for the basis of this route. It turned out it was too small. I didn't want areas with like a huge amount of water, like huge bodies of water. My reason being, if you, sorry, my reason being, if you have too much water, it just comes out as flat on the dem, and it's not like it doesn't help you figure out what's where at all. It's just a flat piece of land. Um, we'll build a naval base here, an air base there, and connect everything rolls rails. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean that was my idea. That was my hope. Maybe we'll be able to actually do that experiment someday. I probably need to be clear about exactly what the plan is and just recruit people who just want to do that, because the horsemen very clearly just want to do MPS, and that's totally understandable. Unfortunately, they're still using my chunk of land, so I'm kind of upset that I'm never going to get to do that on that chunk of land because everyone will have explored it. I'm going to have to find something else, and I'll probably pick something way further afield if I can think of it, or at least something that doesn't have any existing rail lines on it, something that can't be sort of uh, something that can't be repurposed, or whatever the word is, that is just very clearly. We have a modern Minecraft server. I was actually playing on it yesterday with Gloria. But the other part of it was, hey, we have a. I mean, if we did have something with existing rail lines, now we get to see like, okay, does our perspective, being able to see everything from the air, does that make our railroading different than than the original builders? Um, yeah, anymore. No, I need something that like never had any lines ever, and I need something that's just a chunk of land, preferably with land on basically all sides, and has diverse terrain. And I was again thinking of going very far afield, or at least picking a chunk that no one has really ever built a railroad across. Um, I was gonna go somewhere in like Asia, because you don't know what the climate is there when you're just looking at gray grid. You're just looking at like where the hills are, and it's like, okay, well, it goes up here and down here, and so I'm probably gonna build a river here, and you know that sort of thing. I would like something with sort of clearly defined river valleys, because that makes putting your water features making that easier. But yeah, North Siberia. I have a tool that just gives me a black and white topography map, which I was just sort of tooling across. Right where there used to be rail. See, everyone's throwing out islands. Not everyone, but people are throwing out islands. I don't really want to do islands. Um, I want to have some off-map connections, and again, I don't want large bodies of water, which the ocean does in fact count. Um, yeah, I need, like I said, when I picked out the Berkshires and Catskills, I thought it was perfect. If there's another piece on Earth that looks something like that, that's just as difficult but not impossible to build railroads through, that's going to be a winner. But I'm not in the market for it right now. I don't have time to do MPS. The other folks that I was going to do it with are going to be doing MPS, and I don't want to ask them to do two different things. So it is what it is. And I'll probably hop on there at some point, uh, once I'm less upset about what happened, because I do like that chunk of Earth. Um, and do either what I had originally intended to do, because I had a rough idea, which again I expected everyone to have a sort of a rough idea, uh, or Rhine River, other European river, maybe. Yeah, Europe is promising. We wouldn't know enough about that and trying to Americanize it and whatever. Uh, and also we don't easily have KMZ files for those, so people can't just be like, well, these are the railroads. I'm just going to import them. Uh, I'm just going to replicate this or that. But something like California coast may be interesting. Yeah, I had thought about like, because the Hudson River Valley or the Alps could be difficult, is the thing. They might be too hard. The Hudson River Valley is interesting, but interesting because it is the only fjord on the east coast of the United States. Um, and that's what sort of drew me to it, in part because it is a unique piece of terrain surrounded by difficult but not impossible terrain. And the Berkshires and Catskills, you could build through them a different way than the B&A and B&M did, and associated railroads, uh, with some creative thinking and effort, and with the bird's eye view. As far as the Alps go, I don't know about that. That's tough. Um, you know, I am looking at slash have been looking at these sort of older mountain ranges, and I would probably go with something on like the British Isles if it wasn't, well, an island. Which sort of leads me back to problem number one with the water features. It's tough. I feel like I don't want to say that I've gone too far and created my criteria for the patch of land I've chosen and not the other way around, but or I don't want to sort of lean too far into that. But it is what I consider the perfect patch of land because it checks all these boxes, which it jumped out at me before I had all these boxes to check, but as we sort of looked at other alternatives, that's how I developed like, okay, why am I drawn to this? Why do I think it looks ideal for what we're trying to do? What about the argon? The argon Argonne, you mean? The argon? The argon. Like the gas. Sorry, I don't mean to make fun of you, but I do think I know what you mean. You're also on a phone keyboard, so I will assume that was not on purpose as well. The argon forest, it's noble. It doesn't react with anything. The trees, they don't react with anything. Um, I'm actually just kind of making sure that you did mean argon forest, uh, and not like an argon forest somewhere that I just haven't heard of because I don't know, because I haven't played enough GeoGuessr lately. All right, let's do this. What if we do build off an existing place that has railways? I mean, I don't want to do that. That's what they're doing right now. Uh, if you want to be a part of that, go pester like some other horsemen. Because that's what's happening on the section that I pulled out. They're building off of existing railways. I want to not do that. But use one with an absurdly over-engineered or badly engineered line and redo it better. That's the thing. Or you could just ignore the mountain ranges and go across them too. Yeah, well, I was going to try to build a Poughkeepsie Bridge somewhere on what my sort of east-west main line was going to be. What is this project? This is, to shorten it, it's what the next Iron Horseman multiplayer surveyor endeavor is going to be. We had one where we just tried to make an enormous route and break MPS that way. Now we're trying to import a gigantic dem and also a buttload of assets to break MPS that way. What we're having fun, but we're also, finding bugs, and we're also, well, my intention was to anyway, play Trainz in a way that no one ever plays Trainz. Play Trainz more like people play RO or Transport Fever, But anyway, I digress. Basically, what I wanted to do with Baxter Pass. Here's how you solve Baxter Pass. It's called a tunnel. It's ridiculous. Baxter Pass is not a fixable thing, in my opinion. We had an article about it. I remember the originally. Yeah, we did. We were in the papers. And I thought that was fantastic. Like, we decided to go big, like go big or go home. We went big, and so we were sort of. I'd like to think that we had a positive influence on the development of MPS because we get to test things in a way that they didn't or that other people weren't, and same thing now. Um, um, but I got my own mega project to do, and they've got that. The rest of the horsemen have that to keep them going in Trainz for the immediate future, which is perfectly fine. I wish they used a different piece of land, but oh well. And I'm interested to see how it does turn out. And I just kind of want to. I'm going to be doing my part probably by hopping in there and just trying to do AI with MPS. That's maybe one thing we're missing. I don't have a command book. That should be my content pack. It should be just these are all the commands you need to make Trainz, to make the AI bend to your will. So that I should put together. Once people figure out how to easily do content packs and can explain to idiot me how that works, because it was already explained to me, but I don't understand it. It went in one ear and out the other. And please, nobody try to explain it now. I will not be paying enough attention to make sense of it. I need to do it as I'm being walked through it, and then maybe I'll be able to do it again. I looked it up. I tried to figure it out on my own. I was perplexed. I gave up. And I went back to trying to put 3-foot cars in this route and crashed my game twice. So, you know, maybe we'll go back to doing that at the end of the episode. We might actually be able to put some 3-foot cars down this time without breaking everything. But yeah. The devs have been warned. Tyler took the liberty of warning the developers what we have in store. And I hope they are concerned, because they should be. So, yeah. Okay. I really love how these little river areas have been turning out. I really like it. Makes me happy. And this is me just testing trains in general. Honestly, I should, well, I feel like I make use of Tyler too much already. Speaking of which, we can talk about Batch 03 in a minute. For those who just bought trading cards and are waiting for your trading cards, I haven't shipped any yet, waiting for the surveys to be completed. And, the little river areas, yeah. It's like, Lindsay with widow sausage. It just rattles around in your brain perfectly. Perfectly ties into the misprint of 110s. Yeah, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. So, there was a mistake. I guess I'll talk about trading cards now. I haven't shipped anything yet. Do your surveys if you haven't already. Please. The faster those surveys get done, the faster I will get to the post office, because I'll be under more pressure to do so, and I'll have to make fewer trips. I have to fill out custom forms for Canadian shipments this time. That's going to take me extra time, so I have to allocate like an entire evening to being at the post office, which I'm not super psyched about, but that's the cost of doing business. I appreciate all of the people who ordered any amount of trading cards. Seriously, this is... I know that sounds like a complaint when I talk about having to do custom forms, but some of the Canadian buyers paid a lot of money for these cards and made the production possible. You know, they bought a lot of packs and bonuses and things like that, and really helped to put us over the top. On the day of the Kickstarter finishing, I took an order from outside of the Kickstarter system and put it in manually. I don't know if this is against the rules, so don't tell Kickstarter I did this. I used an alt account to put in an order for someone else that I marked down and will be shipping the cards to as well, once I get all the addresses written down, etc. And in that order, I included bonus support in order to push us over the top, because there were only a few hours remaining, and I wanted to make sure that the batch was funded. And I knew that the subsequent packs that I would sell would make up for any investment I have to make now, at least I hope so. So... It smells like Lafayette farted. I would have got more self, but yeah, no, I know. I understand. Somebody bought 12 packs. They're also crazy, and I respect them. All three of the original packs, or all three of the remaining Batch 1 packs are gone. So, you know, there's that. They went with this. We have, I think, 24 Batch 2 packs remaining, which is pretty good. We sold most of them. We sold more than 2/3 of them. We sold almost, 80% of them. And you could say we sold more than 3/4 of them, actually. There was one minor error that I have discovered so far, and that is, as Brian pointed out, the Little River 110 catastrophe. Or the misprint, or whatever you want to call. Guess I have to pay shipping costs, though. No, you don't... I get a few cards basically for free. I don't even know what locomotives are in this pack. No, you don't have to... Oh, you did... Yeah, you did pay shipping costs to ship that to me. But even still, I think that's more of a fair trade. I'm paying the shipping costs to ship them to you, too. So, If you get a 30-25, I bet Ryan will want to trade with you. Short line. Which 30-25 is in this pack. There was a saga, which I will not necessarily get into now. There was a saga to get the data for 30-25. It involved me driving to Essex twice on consecutive days. Anyway, um, uh, I ordered. You know what? I can do the rundown. I'll do it for you, Shortline, so you know what is available, and I'll do it for anybody else who is new here, so they know what is available. Um, and let's see, it is 9:04 now, so let me save, and we'll take a little breather. We'll talk about trading cards. I'm gonna take another sip of water. So, let me do this. Let me go into the abstract. Let me go into batch 2. Let's go into the file for batch 2. So this is what I ordered, all right? And you guys are going to follow along with me. This is what I ordered. This is what the locomotives are in this pack. I need view. Oh, no, I don't need view. I need 90%. So this is our helper card. There are, I think, no more of these available. They already went with the first packs, which makes sense. These were a 1 out of 5 chance to receive in any given pack. The Guaranteed Helper was an add-on that almost sold out, and that skewed the thing. I was tempted to, if I were to go back and do it again, I would make it so that Guaranteed Helper means you only get 1, because the people that bought Guaranteed Helper also bought multitudes of packs, so I have a couple of orders that are like 4 packs or 5 packs and a Guaranteed Helper, but then they also just randomly pulled 2 more helpers just because of luck of the draw. And that I wish I had done it differently. And I suppose I could go back and do it differently, but it would be against what I described the odds of getting helpers as and what the Guaranteed Helper add-on did in the Kickstarter. This has been a learning experience, just like the first batch was, trying to get on my feet. So we had 20 of these. You know, you pay attention to the number down here. There are 20 helper cards. They've got different stats. They play into the game differently. There's an entire section dedicated to them. It's not very much, but they should work the way I've written them. But yeah, so we got the Trainmaster. Business question: will I do reruns? Yes, when we have a website, there'll be a way to contribute towards reprinting of any given batch. I talked about that a little bit last week. I could talk about it more later. But East and I are going to get together and build a website, and it's going to have all the bells and whistles that I want to have, I hope, if we can figure out how to do them all, including the ability to get reprints of any batch. Not specific cards, not individual cards, but you can do special orders. If there's a card that you want specifically, if it's a steam engine, or a diesel, I suppose, I can make a special order of cards just for you. We don't have a special order set for diesels. If you want a special order of diesels, I'll have to work that out with you and figure out how that fits in the grand plan here. Train waifus for the degenerates. Jesus Christ. That's called the Iron Horseman Chronicles. So, this was our helper card. This was special because it's our first diesel, our only non-Steam so far. First legendary, Baldwin 60K. Talking about the Franklin Institute, we talked about it earlier. 10 of these. So I printed 20 of those, printed 10 of these. Red Devil, printed 10 of these. 4014. So now these, we're getting into Class 1 cards. These we get 20 of a piece. So I printed 20 of these. Printed 20 of Timken 1111. This picture and the 60,000 picture were provided by the Rare Museum of Pennsylvania's archives. I paid $25 a piece for the use of them. Strasbourg 90, this picture was provided by Matt. There were 20 of these. Now we get into the Class 2 cards. There are 30 of these apiece. 2102. Unique photo taken by Chris before it was lettered. It is the only photo that was taken of it in this condition, in this location. He was kind of excited when he found out I used this photo. So we have 2102, 30 of these, 30 of these, which is my favorite card in the entire batch, and, if I may brag for a second, because I get one pack too. It's all random. It's all random, so I don't know what I'm getting. But I do get one pack as well. Where is it? Nope, that's not it. That's not it. This is it. I got one. I got a Skookum. I'm so glad. This is like the one card in the batch that I really wanted to get. So I got a Skookum. Printed 20 of those, or 30 of those, sorry. Now I just made a mess of my desk drawer, but I'll figure that out later. I also got one of the Canadian 10-wheelers, and I got some other stuff. I got a Timken Boy. Yeah, Canadian Timken Boy. I got a SP Mogul, and I got some other stuff. Or one other thing, which I can't recall what it was. Nothing super special, but decent. So yeah, printed 30 of these. Printed 30 of these. 765 cards. Brian Burton, beautiful photograph. Printed 30 of the Milwaukee Rope. 40 of the Flying Scotsman. Class 3 cards, we get 40 of a piece. There are 5 of them. Flying Scotsman, 30-25. Slurge Boy, M6 with the big tender. 29-28, Jubilee. McLeod 25, Little Prairie, cute. Little River 110. These are standard cards, so I print 50 of these, and each batch comes with one of these 2 locomotives. The other one being 1392. I received 20 of these, 10 of these, 10 of these, 20, 20, 20, 30, 30, 30, 30, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 50 of these. I received 100 of these. I received a double print of the Little River 110 cards. I don't know why. I'm going to assume it was just a mistake. But there you go. I now have 50 Little River 110 cards that don't belong to anything, like any batch, and I don't know what to do with them. I might sell them off individually, but that's, yeah, that's that. And while we're talking about cards, I said I would talk about Batch 3, which, by the way, here's the card catalog. This is linked in the thread under FanChat General in the Iron Horseman Discord server, which you can get to in the description. So you can see our list of cards and also any errors. The most recent edition was this one. Mason corrected that it should not be 2559, it should be 2659. That may have been a typo on my part or a typo on someone else's part, which was 1225. What its number would have been under the C&O. But yeah, we've got 4 UP things already. 2 of them are special orders. You can see that they are SO6 and SO5. We've got 2 CP things, 2 N&W things, 2 SP things, and 2 Strasbourg things, and then a Veil. Surprised we don't have more Rio Grande stuff, but I'm sure that will come. So let's talk about Batch 3. Batch 3 is People's Choice. It was, you could buy an add-on on either of the previous batches, to get a suggestion put in. And I think on the most recent batch you could buy more than one. Actually, on both of them you could buy more than one. So, Batch 3, we so far have these suggestions. We have the NG-15, which is from the Doubleheaders Victory. If you haven't seen the Doubleheaders, I'd go watch that series. We have a C-16-98. That is the little Docksider from Trainz, really. That's where I know it from. Cute old thing. JNR C-62, that's a Japanese Cape Gauge Hudson type. T-1B, that is the Darth Hoodie, Berkshire. 0664, if you're here, I swear to God. This 0660, the U2G, the Bulgarian 212-4T. Thank God these things have stat pages. Otherwise, 1522. And this person also So Fort bought 2 suggestions. Fort bought 3. This person bought 2, and they said Frisco 1522 and the UP Centennial, if at all possible. If not, uh, please give me a DMIR Yellowstone as my input. But I went with the Centennial for reasons I'll explain later. Well, first because it was his first choice, and second for reasons I'll explain later. Dean asked for a Southern Sea Class Atlantic. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that have no responses yet. And notice that 2 of these are from batch 1. I've reached out and said, like, hey, this is your last chance to try and fill something in. Then we got this. This person bought 2 of them, and this is what they wrote verbatim. So I'm just going to try to satisfy this as much as I can. We already made the big boy. We've made some Pennsylvania stuff. I don't really think we can make anything Norfolk Southern unless we make that the diesel. So I went with, well, we can do Union Pacific for them, and that'll be the Centennial. And also, I guess we can throw the Daylight in, or maybe something Daylight adjacent like the Sunbeam. And then there were 5 from people that did not pay and just gave a suggestion anyway, because I have no way to regulate that. I just had to check all the suggestions against whether these people had paid or not. Rio Grande SD42 Helper. Yeah, that'd be fun in the future, that's for sure. OG Norfolk Southern. Hey, my name is on there. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah, you gave me this, and you said, like, someone who has a great photo of it. And I'm keeping this in my back pocket. I'm keeping all of these here. I didn't just delete them, because I'm probably going to use these to fill in the gaps. I may use these to fill in the gaps. Not probably, because I may just go to the community instead. If we end up not getting responses and not getting enough. Because right now, so this person said something B&O, I quote. So the B&O Docksider fulfills that. So we went from like 19 total suggestions out there down to 17, which is the perfect number for a batch. Assuming all of these get answered. If they don't, then we've got 6 more things down here that we can use to supplement this. Or like I said, going to the community and saying, hey, what do you guys want? And just having a vote. Yeah, Matt, your name's in there. I said I was calling people out this time. So, alright, let's, what should we do now? What do you guys want me to do now? It's just a bunch of German steam engines. I mean, you and some other people. I'm just gonna fill in this. Can we get Hank as a super rare card? I mean, it's funny because the Docksider was originally a stand-in for Hank. Give me CP Selkirks. Listen, if the Alberta Railway Museum responds to my email someday, we need to have a Hank card. Yes! Well, okay. Two things. For AJ, for Wyatt, if the Alberta Railway Museum ever responds to my email, because they said they were interested on Twitter, in hosting a batch of trading cards, I will be making a Canadian-specific batch to be sold there in their storefront, which I know you got to go there, but that'll be our first retail batch if it happens, and they've just got to get back to me, and the Selkirks will almost certainly be in that batch. Canadian specific or Canadian Pacific? Canadian specific. So only Canadian locomotives. I can see how if I did not speak fully clearly there, you could hear it as something. Hey, here it is. Canadian Pacific. Brian and I can harass them. Listen, be my guest. Don't harass too hard. Please be, like, polite and professional and respectful. But I have a line out to them, and I hope they respond to it at some point, and they said they were interested, so I hope they respond. I showed you my trading cards. Please respond. And yeah, there's no rush on that. It would just be nice if they responded and we worked something out before their season started, so I could just have, like, those packs could be in there available for sale when their season starts, but I don't get to decide that. Be the stereotypical Canadian. Oops, sorry. But I don't think you responded to my email. Uh, Actually, that's the thing. I didn't say sorry in my email, so I guess they just didn't listen to me. They just blocked me out. Um, but that was number one. Number two for you, Kevin. Uh, Flag 75, OG Hank, of course, is at the SRI. Mason is on his way, hopefully this weekend, to talk to them about a trading card pack of their locomotives and the locomotives that have visited. Which the daylight will be in that, which is why I'm hesitant on including the daylight um, in our in batch 3, and why I might just go with the sunbeam instead, because it's sort of daylight adjacent. Have I gotten any museum yet? No, but I do have ostensibly 3 museums that are interested. One being Alberta, the other one being the SRI, and the third one being um, uh, not Steam into History, the Star Barn. Star Barn. Um, so yeah, I will hopefully be able to get them into some retail storefront, because I feel like that's where the real expansion possibility is, instead of selling them one batch at a time online. Of course, with the website, may be able to change that. Um, but it's something where I can get paid for them in advance. I can set them all up ahead of time, just sort them into packs, make everything even. Don't have to worry about boosters, yada yada. And Orion, I hear you. I am going to try and pursue other retail contacts sort of when everything else dies down. To sort of get through what I have now, get through what's on the table right now, and if I'm not doing anything else, Grambling would be lumped into SRI. So yes, uh, the Gramblings would be part of that pack, which is why they would have Hank, which is Flag 75. Also have Sadie and Mac, um, and there are a number of engines that have visited the SRI over the years that would be appropriate for something like that, and then we could just sort of reach out into Michigan and find other things. It may be, I was about to say it may be time to do a regular run 1225 card, but obviously that would be in the SRI's pack to begin with, so don't listen to me. Um, but going to the OKC, Oklahoma City train. So if you want, the Oklahoma Railway Museum has a booth there. I'll pitch them a trading card idea. I would be totally down for that. Do you have cards from the last batch? I think I remember you getting cards last batch. If you do, and you're willing to do that, be my guest. Just take your cards with you and be like, yo, this is what you're dealing with, and sort of explain. If they seem interested by the premise, explain that, or make sure you include that they aren't just trading cards, they have a game associated with them, because I feel like that is something that, unless you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, trading card games are less in the public consciousness than trading cards. You say trading cards, people think like baseball cards. They don't do anything. Bruh, Pat. But keep your cards safe, people. Alright, so we're gonna road this. You would not be the first person to lose your trading cards. I actually... So originally, when the Kickstarter started, I had written down there was one singular available Batch 001 trading card pack remaining when the Batch 2 Kickstarter started. It was, okay, you can buy the pack if you want. It's an extra $5. You can buy the pack. And that went almost immediately. April Fool's Bachman 060, yeah. Soon TM. That went almost immediately. Went a lot faster than I had expected. And so I went, huh, well that's interesting. I guess people do want the old packs. So I thought about it for a second. And I went and I found the there was an order for 2 packs that was never shipped from batch 1. And the reason for that is because the person never responded to their survey, so I never had an address to ship to. Fill out your damn surveys, people. And I even tried to reach out, like, hey, please respond to your survey, I don't have your address, and I didn't get a response, so nothing, right? I stopped pursuing that, and I went, okay, well, I'm going to refund this guy. I'm going to refund him, and I'm going to sell these packs in the second batch now, because I can add them to the singular pack. It's 2 more packs. I can add that. But then I had an envelope that I had already labeled. I didn't have his address, but I had his first name. Which the envelope, you gotta keep track of every expenditure when you do these things if you want to sort of try to keep books. Because if I were to ever turn a profit here, I'd have to pay taxes on it. The IRS doesn't care where the money came from; it just cares that you're paying taxes on it. You can put down in your taxes, I'm selling thousands of dollars of cocaine every month, and the IRS is just like, cool, this is how much you owe us. That's not our job. Rare Museum of New England, they only have 1 steamer. I mean, still, Rare Museum of New England, I mean, they've got partnership, or they've got, I wouldn't be opposed to making a card for a 2716 for them as a promotional stunt. And any museum in New England that would be willing to do a New England-centric pack, I would die for. I would love that. Something the IRS would do. I mean, it's their job. They don't care. They don't care about the rest of it. They're not the FBI. They're not the CIA. They're not trying to figure out where you're getting the money. They just want to know that you're paying taxes on it. Raise the Arizona war flag. That's right. That was the other thing. We have an open dialogue with the Phoenix Trolley Museum. Because the president of the museum is a huge fan of Locomotive versus trading cards and wants us to make him a pack, wants us to make a batch for the museum, which I think is fantastic. Just make sure you get Rhode Island Museum with Steam in said pack. Oh, wait. Pat, we don't need to talk anymore. Son of a gun. Bring back Nason, restore it, run it on the island, Mango Gobbles. That's all I need. I need a Steam engine. Why have they never brought Flag 75 to Newport? Why? The closest it's got to me is the Rare Museum of New England. Come on. Or they should just dual gauge the line on the island and run 2-foot there, because it's what the people want. But yeah, so the trolley museum is one, if we can sell them on either a proper steam locomotive pack, or maybe just batches full of helper cards, I guess. Which I would be down for. It'd just be a little bit difficult. I feel like I've run out of colors. So they'd probably just all be purple. I don't know. I don't know how I would deal with that. If he's dead set on doing trolley stuff, then we can work that out. I would prefer to not, just because I don't know how it would fit with the game. Then again, not everything has to be gamified. It might just be a way to get our name out there. Point is, allow me to argue the case for Kyrene? Kyrene? What does that mean? My poor American. Oh, is that a local locomotive of yours? Streetcar cards, yeah. Finally did my survey. I missed the email. I'm glad you did your survey. CD Trolley Museum used to have a Climax in storage that's since been moved to Cass. Interesting. I had no idea. Cass has shaves. I feel like Cass as Shays is almost like an older version of the Milwaukee Road, where if somebody says the thing, or like half of the thing, everyone repeats the thing, or at least one person does. Um, Santa Fe 5000 would be good. Marco Benfi's number 5 lasted until 1924, became Uno Cero. It's the OG Uno Cero? That's fantastic. I would love to make a card on that. Cass does have Shays, yeah. Um, okay, so I'm gonna fill this in here. Did I already do Arcade and Attica 18? No, I have not actually. If you're curious, once again, you can if you're a fan rank at least, or if you've purchased cards actually, you can look in the card catalog and see what all is available out there for the public. If you're not in the Iron Horseman Discord, or you're not fan rank in the Discord, but you have purchased cards, there should be a URL. Oh, you know what? I just realized I didn't go back into the screen. I have not considered doing big Fisco Energy. There should be a URL down. Let me just. Down here. This right here. God damn it. This right here. This URL. If you type this in, it takes you to this page, which has the Discord link, the link to the card catalog, which is this. And it has all of the rules. If you're not sure how to play the game, there you go. One should have contract jobs to make the game a bit more... Contract jobs? I'm not sure... Oh, like, to augment the locomotives because they would be suitable for a given job? Is that what you're saying? I don't... Yeah, no. That's exactly what he meant, TJ. Magic. I don't know enough about Magic the Gathering, so I don't 100% know what you mean. I don't know, but I don't necessarily want to make cards that aren't of a specific locomotive, or at least piece of something that can be used for the game. Piece of train something, I should say. I don't know. See, the thing about Locomotive Versus is squaring off two locomotives on an even footing. However, I do still K37 Green Edition. Oh man, if we did, so one of the the Class 3 rarity cards are green. If we made our K37 a Class 3 rarity, which in a pack of 3-foot would be like letting a 12-year-old in with the 3-year-olds in the bounce house. Moguls that go. In this region, trains commonly haul grain and passengers. I'm not sure. I'll have to ruminate on that. That seems like something you would do for like restricting given cards, and I don't think you need a card for that. I'm not sure you need to use a card for that, is what I should say. Like, we've had royales where it's like, okay, only bring stuff from this region, only bring stuff from this country, only bring this kind of locomotive. Recently we had a doubleheader where 3 out of 4 of the contestants brought locomotives that had broken a speed record, which was not planned, but that's what happened. Anyway. What the hell was I saying? Yeah, so there's the link to those rules that has all the cards that we have made. There are, I think, exactly 40 cards out there, and that includes the special orders, so you would have to track down who owns those special orders. Like, Gloria has the RGS 20. Gloria has, I think, 8 RGS 20s remaining, probably for sale, ostensibly. I love the idea of card packs for different regions. I know, and that almost feels like an inevitability. It feels like that's where we're going in the end. It makes a ton of sense to me. And when we do stuff for museums, that's probably what's going to be. If we had if the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania had wanted to play ball, then we would have made an all PRR pack, or well, we would have made just a pack of what's in the museum. If we're doing a museum with a collection large enough to support a batch on its own, we're probably just going to use what that museum has on hand. Like, if we wanted to make one of Steamtown or the IRM or Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania or the California State Railroad Museum, we would be using basically all locomotives from them. But that does basically turn out to be a region-specific thing. It would be interesting to have, not saying this, but it's a concept, railway cards that have interesting additions that boost or nerf stats or something. Yeah, it would be interesting. It would be interesting. When we started doing Locomotive Versus, it was supposed to be a very plain game mode where, while, yes, your understanding of your locomotive and your opponent's locomotive, and of course the game and how it works matters, but Locomotive Versus, it's really tough to get away with winning with an inferior locomotive. Basically, we created Locomotive Versus so that we could try to make a game that would just figure out which is the better of a pair. And yeah, you can break that. See the final episode of Double Headers. Yeah, exactly. Wyatt, Wyatt slash AJ, whatever you. What do you want to be called? I would be doing a Canadian batch for the Alberta Railway Museum because they don't have 16 steam locomotives. So I would have to go further afield, and it would just make sense as our first Canadian foray, really. It would just be these are the locomotives of Canada. AJ preferably Wyatt. I say, I will try to do AJ, I just keep saying Wyatt because it's your name. It's your username. I'm sorry. I hope you understand how it can trip me up. But anyway, yeah, it's that makes a lot of sense there. If we were to do if we do the Star Barn one, it's probably going to be a Pennsylvania and surrounding region card pack because they only have one locomotive. And if you have, same thing if we did something for like Strasbourg. Strasbourg has a lot of engines there, but they don't have enough. Rare Museum of New England, we would do a New England set because they've only got one steam engine. And actually, I think they have two, don't they? They have a Prairie as well. If I remember right. Howard Pincus owns a Prairie, if I remember right. They've got a G5 just like every railroad museum ever, but anyway. It ran at Essex for a little while. It's that one. Alright, there we go. Try to get rid of all the little lines that you see around. In fact, I saw one earlier. I want to go fix that. And we're going to put some green in here to make it a little bit more lush. Strasbourg goes crunched. We're not doing this again. Leaves on the. Oh, okay. Now I understand what you were saying, Mew. But yeah, when we created Locomotive Versus, it's news. We just already talked about it. When we created Locomotive Versus, it was okay. We need a game to compare locomotives, and that's it. And then we created Loco Royale, which was okay. We need a game to compare 5 locomotives. But at that point, we had already stepped off the diving board into we're no longer making games that are explicitly about finding the best locomotive. Lima Locomotive Works. We don't know how to do geared locomotives yet. Can't do Shays yet, but I do want to figure that out someday. That's one of my future major hurdles, is doing geared engines. SteamLocomotive.com does not do geared engines, and I have not yet asked why. But they have been responding to the information that I sent them, which is something I should probably go over with Tyler, etc. So, Yeah, at that point we'd stepped off the diving board. We were no longer making a competition about finding specifically the best locomotive. We were making a game. Um, and I'm pretty sure about that, Prairie. And that sort of is what led me to do, okay, well, how far can I go with this gamification? Okay, we'll make double headers. Double headers are by far the game mode where it matters the most thus far to know the game, to know what your opponent might do in the game beyond just calling a stat that benefits them. Uh, to know the consequences of doing a specific thing beyond whether your number is bigger or not. Um, so at that point, I feel like we hit a real gamified moment. And we also created a 2v2 team-based game mode, which I thought was pretty good because having just 1v1s all the time is frankly kind of boring. It's kind of a loner's thing if you ask me. But Locomotive Versus doesn't leave a lot of interpretation. You know, it's okay to have a 1v1 game mode. I mean, most card games are. Uh, yeah, it's a strategy game. Doubleheaders became a strategy game as well as just becoming a game of bringing the right locomotive. It matters much more that you strategize than it does that you have the right locomotives. You can win with bad locomotives in doubleheaders if you do things right and your opponent does things wrong. Now, uh, yeah, so the 1v1, the original Locomotive Versus game mode doesn't have a lot of replayability between a given pair of engines because things could turn out, things would probably turn out pretty much the same. Uh, the reason it's a 20-point cutoff is because it means you have to get through most of the points. Most of the, um, sorry, you have to get through most of the, stats that you could possibly call. And in any given pair of locomotives, there will almost certainly be be fewer than 20 that you are going to win. Um, there are about 44 stats on a full page, and that assumes the page is completely full, including axle loading, which is not usually present, including low pressure cylinders, which is usually not present, and its associated booster is usually not present. And so already you've whittled it down to like 41. Drop off, you know, I mean, LSMLE's weight computation is one that we added. So that works in the other direction, but I think that's included in the 44. What else? What other ones are usually not present? I mean, uh, loading. What am I forgetting? I'm forgetting something. I mean, if something's not superheated, it's not going to have flues. It's not going to have superheating surface. Those two are stricken off of a good number of cards. There's another one that usually isn't there. But point is, more than likely, you will not sweep with a locomotive. There will probably be at least one or two ties. There will probably be at least one or two things that are, you know, that are missing. And then on top of that, there will be things that are just not in your favor. Honestly, if I had to estimate, I would say in a given locomotive versus, there's like 18 points easily available for either side. And then whatever is left is just sort of a toss-up. That's not necessarily true. That's not backed up by anything. And if I sat down with the numbers, I could get you a better answer than that, or a better statement than that. But the point is, all this rambling, the point is, what about different kinds of timing valves and the benefits, setbacks, efficiency? The different kinds of valve gear, there definitely is a hierarchy, if that's what you're asking about. we usually, and that is one of the stats. And that is probably the one where there are most likely to be ties, because there really are only a handful of widespread valve gear designs. I mean, Baker is the best, but it's kind of rare. And then you have Walsharts, and its sort of copies or derivatives, and Stevenson, which is worse than Walsharts. So there you go. You have the top three, and those are going to handle like 90% of the locomotives you're ever going to see. Baker, Walsharts, and Stevenson. If you go, you know, into Europe and things like that, you'll find like Husinger, which is basically Walsharts, if I remember right. Young Valve Gear, which is, yeah, um, like other ones exist. Southern Valve Gear exists, um, and then you have the really rare, obscure, and old ones like Hook and Loop, Caprati, and yeah, no, I mean, you guys are naming valve gears that do exist, but they are pretty rare in the grand scheme of things, especially for what is admittedly a fairly U.S. centric game. For United States locomotives, you're gonna have Stevenson if it's older than like, 1900, and then you're gonna have Walsharts, and if it was built by people who liked to be based, then you will have Baker. Um, yes, that is also a valve gear. Caprati is cool. I like Caprati. More valve gear should be like Caprati. It doesn't look cool at all. It looks really like boring and lame, but it's so good and simple. Like, it's so imagine if they had built Camelbacks with Caprati, they probably would not have killed so many people. They would still be terrible, terrible abominations of technology, but uh, Dante Laporta loves Southern Valve Gear. Of course he effing did. In this region, we could use the publicity. Anyway. But yeah, that's one of the things where there are ties. And now I got way sidetracked on a valve gear tangent. What the hell was I talking about? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so mention the different kinds of... point is, okay, yeah, Locomotive Versus is a deterministic game mode, for the most part. If you bring a better engine than your opponent, you're going to win, like 90% of the time, even if you have no idea what you're doing. Because your opponent is probably going to... well, okay, you do have to have some idea what you're doing. But your opponent, even if they get to go first, is going to run out of stats that they can guarantee a win on. And, Mew, two of those words are based, and the other one makes me want to chuck you out a window. Or at least chuck the locomotive out a window. Two of those phrases, whatever. Yeah, so... what happens when a class has more than one valve gear? So, generally we'd go with a few things. Actually, you know what? Can I come back to that? I'm going to have to come back to that. Let me finish this diatribe. Because I do have an answer for you, guy. So we decided to gamify it. Moving to the local royale format allowed us to gamify it more. It allowed us to sort of make things less deterministic and more replayable, and also more fun because you could play now with 5 people instead of just you versus a buddy. And I've called it a game show a few times because that's basically what it is. And so with that in mind, then I created double headers, which was mostly because I wanted a 2v2 game mode, but I realized I had created something that had to be extremely gamified if it was going to be viable and non-completely deterministic. So I had to add the boosters, which are neat, and yeah, maybe we'll see some change in those in the future, but for the most part, they are what they are. And the next step for me is developing the 4th and probably final game mode, which is called Locodome. And it is, to come back to it, the 1v1 format, and it's, closer to a typical trading card game format than anything else. And this is sort of like when I realized, okay, we're doing trading cards now, this is the type of game mode I have to build. It is a um, uh, unless you bring an AC9, you'll be likely to win any mode anyway. Yeah, I mean the AC9 is a legend. The AC9 won the Royales, and also like the AC9 and the NG15, two of the greatest locomotives on the planet, according to Locomotive Royale. Um, so I decided to sort of develop this other version of the card game, which I haven't sat down and put on paper yet, but I've done a lot of thinking. Um, Loco Dome is a 1v1 game mode where you bring 5 cards in a given order. So not shuffled, you can put them in an order, any order you like, and you square off against your opponent who has 5 cards. You use the first card in your hand, or your deck, or whatever you want to call it. Um, use the first card in your pack. No, not the triplex. Um, to square off against their first card, and at a given time, which these are the mechanics that I have yet to figure out, you can move to the next one. But you can't ever go back. So if you go through all of your cards without, scoring enough points, you just lose. Because you can't go back to previous cards. If you go through all of your, if you go like, okay, no, I'm gonna move to my next, like I'm gonna flag on this one, I'm gonna move to my next locomotive. Uh, but you've just had, you're only like 4 points into the game and you're just getting demoralized because you realize the locomotive you're up against is just you but cooler, or you but stronger. Um, then you've effectively wasted your chance to get up to 40 points. And the idea is you can sort of move on like that as you choose until you are out of cards. Then you're stuck with the last one until either you guys both run out of stats to call on your final cards, or someone hits like 100 points, something like that. So the name of the game is to run up the score and change cards in strategic ways, because your stat calls are specific to the card you're calling from. So if someone has a mid-sized locomotive, oops, I got a little too overzealous with the tree removal there. If someone has a mid-sized locomotive and they call all the weight stats on you, or sorry, they call all the power stats on your mid-sized locomotive, and they win, and your next card up is a small locomotive, and the only stuff that he's going to have left is weight stats, then you can fly. You can switch to your next card, which will be a small locomotive, and now he's got to turn the ball over to you because the next stat that he calls, the next stat that they call is going to be something that turns the ball over to you. So, hello, Austin. I'm from Rhode Island. You may be one of the first Iowa viewers we have. Have had. I'm not sure where everyone else is from. Unfortunately, I can't keep a mental map of that. Anyway, welcome to the channel, welcome to the stream. We have a Discord server. I do this every Thursday. You're watching me clear a forest because I get too excited with copy pasting. We're working on this river valley, which is part of this much larger route, which is part of an even larger route. So, I hope you're here for the long haul. Feel free to tune in every Thursday. Anyway, we also make trading cards, which is what we're talking about now. And we have a game where we square off locomotives. I'm from New York, but I am from Iowa. I'm in Iowa for school. Oh, cool. Oh, hey, radio. You can only swap cards if you're losing. The list of call only resets when both people have switched cards. That's an interesting one. I was thinking it would be tied to the card being called from, but that's a good idea. I'm gonna have to think about that. AJ, do you do game design? No, but in seriousness, that's why I put these ideas out there, because you guys have you guys can look at this problem in more ways than I can, and I want to develop a game mode that's more like a trading card game mode than anything else that we currently have. You know, packs are 5 cards, Loco Dome is 5 cards. So you buy a pack of cards and boom, you're already kitted out to play the the game mode, really. Um, anyway, so what do we do if there's a class with more than one kind of valve gear? Well, it's an interesting question. It's kind of a multifaceted question, and it comes down to what version of the game are you playing? Because if you are playing Locomotive Versus, like, or what era are you playing the game? And I got overzealous with the tree cutting again. Oh, I saw. Oh, I saw and saw and saw again. I feel bad for that engine crew. I feel bad for that maintenance crew that's definitely getting at least a tongue lashing, if not a pink slip. Uh, and I feel bad for poor Westy. I feel bad for 475. Um, Excavator 1. Yeah. There's a story about Big Joe from the Iron Horseman Chronicles squaring off against a bulldozer, and that's what got him ousted from the Pensy and sent out west in the first place, but that's a story for another time. If you're playing older iterations of Locomotive Versus or Loco Royale, where we go sort of by class, you do one of two things. Excavator card. God damn it. You do one of two things. It was in Iowa? You either go by what the stat sheet says. Go by what it says on steamlocomotive.com, and that's sort of the definitive. You call it dying by the stat sheet or living by the stat sheet. And that happens sometimes. If a number doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense, but it says that on the stat sheet, and that's to your advantage, the stat sheet trumps. You can use that number. We've had instances with, like, tubes that have a negative diameter, so that automatically wins, even though it doesn't make any sense. We've had things where the engine wheelbase doesn't make any sense, or like the ratio of engine wheelbase to overall wheelbase is more than 1, which is physically impossible. But it was, it was a benefit. No, Big Joe is a GG1. The Little Joes in Horseman chronology are named because of him, because they used the Milwaukee road, used what they learned after purchasing / about Joe, and of course the GG1s as a concept, to build better electric locomotives. I had no idea. I had no idea that 475 got out there. That's cool. Because there's no Soviet Union in the Horseman universe, our universe reason for calling them Little Joes does not make any sense. And because Joseph Stalin is in the Horseman universe chronology, he is a janitor at Baldwin Locomotive Works and not the head of any country anywhere. It doesn't make any sense. If you didn't know that, you should probably go listen to the short stories that have just gone out in the Iron Horseman Chronicles channel. If you want to. They've got some world history in them. So yeah, you can go by the stat sheet. That's option number 1. Option number 2, you can go by, like, the majority, or what they were built by, or what they were built with, and then, because if they were, adapted. If you have, 10 of your locomotives have Walschaerts valve gear, but then they rebuilt one of them with Caprati, I'm not letting you say your valve gear is Caprati, it's Walschaerts. However, in the modern version, or the more recent version of Locomotive Versus and its game types, since we started producing the cards, because the cards are patterned after specific locomotives at a specific point in time, it would be whatever that locomotive has at that point in time. So if you brought the weird Mikado that got Caprati, the one out of the single class, or for an actual real example, the 1T1 that had Walschaerts valve gear because it got in a wreck and they decided to replace it and see how that worked, then you would be able to say, yeah, no, I have Walschaerts. And we'd go, what? But you're a T1. And you say, yeah, look at this picture. This is of my locomotive. Illinois was at the it was at the IRM, and they wanted to get it operating, but lacked monies. IRM has such a collection. IRM is incredible. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. They have enough steam locomotives there for me to do 2 batches of cards and never repeat anything. Um, yes, I looked into this. Anyway, it's probably a dumb question, but is there a way to play the cylinder direction? I know Canada had a few inwards-facing cylinder melees. I know that BR engines often did inclined cylinders. So cylinder orientation would probably be a style point. Now, or it would relate to style points because it's more of a mechanical quirk than something that's on a stat sheet. Well, it isn't on the stat sheet, so it's got to go under style points. Basically, is how that works. It might not be a style thing necessarily, but that's the way it is. If you were looking at, say, the Q1 versus the Q2, the PRR Q1 versus the PRR Q2, very similar locomotives. Q2 obviously came later, has some advancements over the Q1. One of those being the cylinder placement on the Q2s is they're both ahead of the driver sets, which means the Q1 having its rear cylinders behind the drivers against the firebox. Same with the George H. Emerson, the original duplex made by Baldwin. The Q2 would have a leg up because that is a better cylinder placement for the sake of maintenance. So if you have better cylinder placement, like genuinely better, because the reason you don't want cylinders next to your firebox is because, well, it constrains the firebox, but that would show up in firebox stats, but also those cylinders are going to be more maintenance intensive because they're next to the heat and soot of the firebox. Huh. 485. I assume that's a typo. Bunseening and the Valley Railroad, J2 Chinese Mikado, last steam locomotive built by Datong. Wow, that's cool. I knew they had a Chinese locomotive. I didn't know much about it. I was trying to chase down leads for SYs to do the 3025 trading card, which thankfully that panned out. I know we're going to go over time here because it's already 10 o'clock, but I'm in the middle of something. Inclined cylinders are always... if you do not have inclined cylinders and you're squaring off against a locomotive that does, that's a style point in your favor. Inclined cylinders have the problem of all the oil going to one end, and that makes maintenance harder. That means those cylinders are going to be more maintenance intensive. You know, style points generally comes down to 2 things. Does it look cool, number 1, and number 2, is it functionally better and not shown in the stats? Mopac Mikado that was originally built with Gressley would have to be called as Gressley only if you're using that specific Mikado during a period where it had Gressley. So, maybe, depending on the circumstances. If it was rebuilt with something else, then if you're using it at a point in time after it was rebuilt with, say, Walschertz, then you can say it as Walschertz, because that's what it had at that moment. In terms of regions, nations, when the game gets into foreign engines, would you censor the flags? No, not really. I mean, I would try to find a photo that doesn't have, like, giant swastikas on it, but if you're doing, like, if the engine that you're trying to do is, like, the locomotive that was at the front of Hitler's train, there's really no way around that. So I'm not about to do that, but I will try to avoid having to. You know, I'm going to try to pick my photos carefully and pick my locomotives carefully if possible, to avoid that necessity. Or to avoid that becoming a necessity. National Geographic caught $355,000 from his damage while being unloaded at Long Beach. Ouch. You know, it's tough to do an unloading like that without a hitch, it seems. It's amazing that Flying Scotsman isn't just, like, in a heap at the bottom of Boston Harbor. Which, Flying Scotsman was in this trading card pack. Increased look intensified. Well, yeah, I mean, people being East, Brain Creek's Locomotive Versus, and they kind of stomp sometimes because they're genuinely good engines with lots of features. But you know they're Nazis, so we can't support them. Also, I did misread that as Kellogg's at first. All right, so I'm gonna do this here, and when we're done with this, well, I'm gonna be done when I'm done with this little patch right here. And we're going to wrap the stream up. I'll be back next Thursday. Of course, this weekend is a podcast, Terminus Podcast. We'll probably be talking about 475. But we'll also be talking about the other stuff. Possible more strike news, incoming Amtrak situations. What else has been big in the news lately? I mean, Via Rail having its own, like, privatization potential crisis. Triple spelling check. No, that's fine. They're Nazis. You can misspell their stuff if you want. Like that's fine. Fellow its cabin bent it upwards. Steam locomotives are heavy. Listen, I'm not about to sit here and advocate for punching anyone, but being petty by misspelling the thing, I mean that's you know. You're not really hurting anyone there. Kellogg's made by Nazis? Well, maybe not Nazis, but the guy really did have a vendetta for stopping kids from jerking off. All right. Anyway, we have built a good part of a river, and I'm happy about this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I guess we're gonna end on that bombshell. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, and I will be back with more of the same next Thursday, more than likely, unless some catastrophe happens. And probably open next episode with the same thing that we opened this episode with, which is AI fun, just to see. I didn't do any programming this time, so you never know. But we're getting closer to Pan Am, guys. We're getting ever closer to Pan Am. See you next week. This is the Admiral. Man, I'm slouching now. This is